baseball, right smack in the middle of it. I know typically being a former Gamecock basketball player, that is where we start with you a lot of times, and a lot has gone on since the last time you joined us here on the early game, and we'll probably talk a little bit about a little Gamecock basketball at some point. But Gamecock baseball smack in the middle of the home stretch, if that makes any sense. 3 SEC series to go. Mississippi State up next tonight, and for the first time all season, really. The Gamecocks have switched up the pitching rotation, the starting rotation. It's been Thomas Farr has been their opening night guy, and the Gamecocks have struggled. They've only won one opening night SEC series opener, I should say. They're going into their 8th series tonight, and it's tough to win a 3-game series if you don't win the first one. So what Mark Kingston has done, what Skylar Meade, the pitching coach, has done, they've switched it up a little bit. They moved Brandon Jordan, the Saturday starter, up to the Friday night guy. They've moved their Sunday guy, their game 3 guy, and Will Sanders up to game number 2 in this series. And Thomas Farr has now been pushed back to game number 3. What do you make of the adjustment the Carolina baseball coaching staff is making here? And what do you think about where Gamecock baseball sits as they go into their 8th SEC series of the season? So my question to you, being a former player, and basketball is a little different. One of the conversations around basketball that drives me nuts is about who's starting and who's not starting, and ultimately who gives a rip when it comes down to it, because it's all about who gets the most minutes and who's playing the most important minutes. It doesn't really matter who starts the dang game. Baseball's a little different, especially when you're talking about starting pitchers. When a coach makes a lineup adjustment, makes a playing time adjustment at this point in the season, I think it's a really tricky thing. So we talked about this a couple of days ago. We talked about the Thomas Farr situation multiple times on this show the last several weeks, just because of that first game struggle. And by and large, he hasn't been great, but he's been able to give his team a chance to win. So I was a little surprised that they made this move. But when you look at the results, it makes sense, right? You're not getting the results done, you make an adjustment. This is sports at the highest level, and you don't worry about feelings too much. But my question is, from a coach's standpoint, from a locker room standpoint, and your former player perspective, what's the difference between making an adjustment late in the season and doing it with confidence, and your team being able to accept it and move on with confidence, and making a move where a team feels like the coach has lost some confidence in a player or some personnel there? Does my question make any sense to you? You know where I'm coming from here?
we make this move, then first of all, how does this impact the player that was directly impacted? How does this impact his confidence? Can he recover? Will I lose him? How popular is that player? By moving him, how does this impact the rest of the team? Because you can't minimize a player's impact or how his confidence, how his vibe, and just how his spirit impacts or permeates throughout the locker room. You can't minimize that. So, all of that matters too. So coaches have already thought through the first 3 steps or so in terms of making that move. But make no mistake about it, regardless of what is said publicly, which is the right thing to do, because you don't want that to become a distraction. You don't want that to become counterproductive. So now that becomes the storyline as opposed to the game itself. And when you're trying to, trust me, it's already hard enough to win a game. It's already hard enough to be better than your opponent. So trying to manage that, trying to manage competition, trying to manage the personnel moves, trying to manage emotions and some of the other things that will certainly go along with the move certainly has to be calculated, but it has to be well thought out. And yes, players, yes, they are impacted by it. Some recover better, some handle it much better than others. But make no mistake about it, yes, players are impacted by it.
And Mark Kingston has been tweaking the lineup kind of 1 through 9 all season long. And I think when you have a coach that is much more open or liable to do that kind of thing, maybe this move and the pitching staff won't be as drastic as some, because there are just some coaches out there that are more willing to make moves than others. And baseball is a little bit different than any other sport because you play so many games and because you have so many options. I think wanting to change up the mojo a little bit, wanting to provide a spark was how Mark Kingston explained it yesterday when he had a Zoom call with the media. So we'll see if that works for Gamecock baseball. Tonight, 7 o'clock first pitch for Carolina against Mississippi State. Another really good SEC program coming into Columbia this weekend, and the Gamecocks coming off getting swept at Ole Miss, a team that Mississippi State beat a couple of weeks ago, 2 out of 3. And then, like Carey mentioned, dropping 2 out of 3 to Arkansas before that. So they've lost 5 out of their last 6 in SEC play to drop to 11-10 right now in the conference standings after a 10-5 start. But we'll see what happens there. Carey, did you see your boy Nick Saban?
Which time?
The latest. I think it was last night. So yesterday, a lot of the conversation on this show was about Jimbo Fisher.
Yes.
And you know what football coaches are doing this time of year, by and large there. Yes. They're glad-handing. They're out there pressing the flesh, doing what they got to do. It's the part of the job that Steve Spurrier, I think, hated the most. Well, this and maybe recruiting. All right, you're going to alumni events, fan events. I believe Jimbo Fisher was at the Houston Touchdown Club, so I'm sure there are a lot of A&M fans there. And do coaches get confused here? Help me out with this. When there's an event like this, as opposed to an event where television cameras are definitely going to be there or reporters are definitely going to be there, do coaches really think in the 21st century that they can say things that will stay behind closed doors, that will not get out to the general public? Or aren't they savvy enough to know that just doesn't happen anymore?
Yeah, but that's a really, really fine line that coaches have to walk, because when you think about the alumni clubs, the alumni base, when you're going to these speaking engagements as the coach, you're trying to give that special group of fans something beyond the surface. You want to make it worth their while. Those things aren't cheap, and so folks have paid to be a part of those events. And you don't want to be vanilla. You want to give them something that's going to be entertaining. You want to give them something that's going to stick. You want to give them something that's going to get them excited about the upcoming season. So you don't necessarily want, in your words, because I know you don't really care for the coach speak, right? So coaches want to go a little bit beyond that. They don't want to just give coach speak. So in trying to walk that fine line, you may push the envelope just a little bit. Certainly is in the back of their mind that they could be recorded, or their comments or some of the things that they say will reach far beyond that setting. But it's a fine line. And I mean, these are some of your big money people. You want to appease them. You want to keep them excited. And the one thing you don't want to do is go in and come across in a very vanilla fashion, a very surface fashion where you're not giving them anything beyond the surface. So it's almost like a fine line. It's a fine line that you have to toe. And sometimes you unfortunately cross that line. And oftentimes when you don't cross that line, fans are walking away. Well, why are we excited? What do we have to look forward to? It's a fine line, Tim Hill.
No doubt about it. It's a fine line. But this is what, Jimbo Fisher gets paid $7 million to figure it out, to be prepared for this situation. And man, I just don't think he handled it well the other day. You guys heard me go on the rant about, he said he's going to beat Nick Saban's butt while he's there, and Texas A&M is going to do it as good or better than Alabama football's done.
And what is wrong with that, Tim Hill? What did you expect for him to say? No, we're never going to be good enough to beat Alabama. No, my players will never be good enough to beat Alabama while we're here. What did you really expect for him to say that?
No. Just because you say one thing doesn't mean I'm recommending you say the opposite. I'm just saying you don't go that far and you poke the bear. Carey, do you know who Texas A&M opened its season with last year?
I don't.
They had a really good season, right? They lost one game. They came to Columbia and absolutely thrashed the Gamecocks. And to me, that was the end of the Will Muschamp era right there. It was brutal. The touchdown pass over the middle that Kellen Mond threw, the Gamecock defense, that was the worst I've ever seen it. And I think it was the next week or a couple of weeks later where Lane Kiffin's throwing up his call sheet, and Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral after the game saying, yeah, we knew what they were doing before they did it. That was kind of the continuation of what looked like a defense that had just either given up or couldn't compete. And in either way, it was unacceptable. But Texas A&M wasn't a dominant program last year, even though they only lost one game in an all SEC schedule. It was a heck of a year. But there's a difference between having a heck of a year and having the talent and the situation to compete with one of, if not the best run in college football history right now. And that's what Alabama is.
Yeah, we are on the complete opposite sides of this argument or this debate. It's not an argument. It's a debate. But I don't think anything was wrong with what Jimbo Fisher said at all. Because
let me go back to my original point. Okay. Opening game last year, Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. The score, Carey, was 17-12. Mm-hmm. Texas A&M beat Vanderbilt, a team that didn't win a game last year, 17-12. Then they also played Alabama that next game, and they got their butts beat 52-24. Mm-hmm. This is a case of running your mouth first and then having to back it up. I want my coach to be able to back it up first, and then you get to run your mouth. Steve Spurrier is the most notorious college football trash talker. Mm-hmm. He came to Carolina a humbled guy and didn't start running his mouth in that way until he understood at that point. We got to win games. You got to win games to talk like that. I was really bummed. I was disappointed. I thought we were going to get a cocky guy that had to earn the reputation of being a bit of a gunslinger with the comments and throwing some jabs out there. We didn't get any of that because he knew.
Yeah, but also I think I'm big on timing. And I think when Steve Spurrier got here, look at the experience he had just come off of. He had just come off of a failed experience in Washington, D.C. So I don't care how much success you've had. I don't care how much you've won at the high clip. That impacts your confidence. And we could talk about any facet of society, but when you don't have confidence or when your confidence has been compromised or impacted, everything else that you're a part of or you're associated with is impacted by that. So I think timing also had a lot to do with Steve Spurrier not being as confident and not being as well. No, we're not even going to say confident with Steve Spurrier, not being as cocky and arrogant as Steve Spurrier was. But you know what? If I'm in that locker room at Texas A&M, I'm happy that my coach, Jimbo Fisher, made the statement that he made. Because in sports, it's all about belief. It's all about confidence. It's all about going out. Because if you don't think that you have a chance, then the game is over with before you even get on the field. And how as crazy or as unrealistic as it may sound to those outside of the locker room, if I'm a player, I need my coach to believe in what we're doing. I need my coach to believe in me. And when that happens, I'm just telling you, man, you run a little bit faster, you jump a little bit higher, you play a little bit harder, you tend to want it just a little bit more. And just for that particular day, for that game, you know what? Things may fall into place where you're good enough to be successful for that one particular day. Even if we throw out everything associated with how good either team is. I mean, quick story. I remember my junior year, we're playing Kentucky, senior day, Kentucky vying for the SEC championship. They're vying and competing against Florida. Nobody, and I mean nobody gave us a chance to win that game. But you know what? Man, we went out and played and kept the game close and just kept going back and forth. I think they were number 4, the 4th or 5th ranked best team in the country. And now we get to the 12-minute mark. We're still hanging around, and get to the 8-9-minute mark. We're still hanging around back and forth. And man, Tim Hill, it gets to that 4 or 5-minute mark, and the lowly Gamecocks are in a game with the great Kentucky Wildcats, who are always competing for a championship. And all of a sudden, 4 or 5 minutes to go, you know what? Not only are we just hanging around, man, we got a chance to win this thing. We got a chance to win this thing. Now it's 2 minutes to go. Not only do we have a chance to win this thing, I'm thinking, and the rest of my guys are thinking, and my coaches are thinking, you know what? We are going to win this thing. We are going to win this thing. So it's just the belief. It's just the confidence. And I get what it looks like on the surface. But if I'm in that locker room with Texas A&M, I want my coach, Jimbo Fisher, to say, yes, we're going to beat him. He didn't say when it was going to beat him. He just said before he's done, he's going to beat Nick Saban in Alabama. And I don't think anything at all is wrong with that statement. As a matter of fact, I'm rocking with a guy like Jimbo Fisher, Tim Hill, just because of that.
Good luck with that. Jimbo versus Saban. You're going to go with Jimbo. Good luck with that. I want to play for you. Maybe you'll change your mind after you hear Nick Saban's response to this. Maybe you'll change your mind.
I love Nick Saban too. You know,
I know. You're the one guy out there that loves Nick Saban. We'll let you hear what Saban had to say. Classic response to this little off-season college football discussion. We'll do that when we come back. Plenty more to get to as well. Want to get Carey's thoughts a little bit. I know Bill was talking about this Georgia state legislature thing yesterday where they passed a name, image, likeness thing that includes taking 75% of the money and putting it in a pot if you're the school and the whole thing. And as we're getting closer and closer to this becoming reality, as a former Gamecock basketball player, I really am interested in hearing your thoughts, Carey, about the name, image, likeness thing and where that's going to go, and the piece of the pie getting a little bit bigger for the college student athlete. So we'll do that as well. Love to hear from you guys. 803-404-6100 is the number into the program. Lee knows that number. He was up first this morning. The Cool Care Heating and Air text line just said, love it. Preach, Carey. So he might be on your side here. And Clemson Allen wanted to point out that Jimbo beat Florida last year. Yeah, that was their big win at home, no doubt. That now gives Jimbo Fisher the confidence, apparently, to say that Texas A&M is going to be like the Alabama program and even better. Good luck with that. It's the early game here. It's 107.5 the game.
The home of the Gamecocks. New head football coach, Shane Beamer. 107.5 the game.
Today is an absolute dream.
Guys get the behind the scenes trying to get Carey on a live stream. Gotcha. And are you seeing? No, I'm still getting that device is not connected deal. I see that you are like on the live stream. It just says that you got to turn your camera or your mic on. It says device is not connected. Gotcha. That sounds like fun. Huh. And do you see me and Jen up on that one? So you might have gone the first link I sent you on that one. Why don't you try to see if you can go to that second link? All right, thanks, man. I think we got it figured out with Carey. We'll see. Morning, Anthony. Good to have you, sir. Yeah, it was just for Georgia, I think, as I understand it. I'll get into that a little bit more here. Georgia NIL. And that's the thing right now with this being where it is, that the NCAA is so slow or just hesitant to make it a rule across all of college sports, that they basically left it up to each individual state, and that's going to be an absolute mess. I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Don't mean to spoil the big surprise. I don't know how anybody would say this isn't good. Unbelievable. So yeah, this is just a George thing. I agree, Craig. BSP. All right, we got the captain in here. Attaboy, Carey.
Yay!
Nice work. Nice work. How many phones you got, man?
Two.
Impressive. I'm not.
Which isn't necessarily good because that means anytime
Right.
it rains, I need to answer, right?
That means your pool better.
Yeah, I couldn't handle 2 phones, but I can barely handle one. Craig's pumped. He's got the captain
when
in
they're
there.
out of school. That's why you need Corley Pool Solutions. Let's be honest. You don't want to have to clean your pool. You've worked hard all week. You've got your own personal private pool in the backyard. When you come
So you hear me all right here, Carey?
Yes, sir. I hear you fine. Do I still need to talk into the mic?
Yeah. We'll
Okay.
still be going through the mic on the show, and I'll just probably I can flip a button and just have our audio coming through the show audio while we're on the air.
Okay.
And then I can turn your mic on and off as well there. So you should be good. You leave it there. Talk to me during the breaks on the phone, and we're good.
Gotcha.
He doesn't turn off Bill's mic nearly enough.
Yeah. And Jen, let's come back. I'll do a liner, and then I'll switch over the audio, and we'll do Saban. Is that cool, Jen?
Okay.
Thank you.
I cut through the little, the part where the reporter is asking him about Reeves' response, and he says something about, oh, you mean golf? And everybody laughs, and then he answers. I just cut that out.
So you cut that out, did you say?
Yeah. Did you want that in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll put it back.
So, Carey, this takes a little getting used to, man. I know the rhythm of of radio is taking the breaks.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed this though. I actually enjoyed being in front of the camera. It's game time. It's showtime for me.
I hear you.
I like it.
So, sorry, the way it works is you don't have to worry about the mic for us back and forth here. I'm getting this here off your phone.
Okay, I got you.
But during the show, the mic like usual. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, my friend.
I don't know. I still haven't seen another show where they do the off the mic talk like this. To me, this is the fun of having the video.
Yeah, who came up with this?
Dan Patrick. No, we're just ripping it off some other shows. Except I don't know. I guess Dan Patrick they don't do the talk off the air. But yeah, do it. Just hooking it up is not too hard from a technical standpoint.
Right. Well, it's hard for a guy like me who's not tech savvy.
Well, it took you 20 minutes. You're good.
Trust me, I'm proud of the fact that I actually got connected all on my own.
Good for you.
I was printing out info, so didn't need it after all.
Yeah, I was waiting for
two
Jen. I
phones
kept looking to see whether Jen was going to come into the studio, and I kept looking and I kept looking, and I said, "Oh, looks like I'm on my own."
Nice job, Jim. Got to teach him to fish.
All right. I was gonna give you a little time, but I did have instructions ready.
Yeah.
And get back Larry's on the phone about baseball this weekend. He has a prediction. All right, about to come back in.
All right.
Europe.
Been great to be able to tell you that a concert's coming to Charlotte. Big name concert, even better. And the fact that we can give you some tickets before you could even buy them. Just another reason to start your Friday in a good mood. Genesis coming up to Charlotte Spectrum Center on November 20th. Been giving away tickets all week. The halftime show will give away the final pair of tickets this afternoon. Tickets on sale later today. You can stand by for more details. I believe it's 10 a.m. Those things go on sale, though. Genesis and Spectrum Center, November 20th. Also, trying to give you $25,000 in our 25K workday payday. Got 10 chances to qualify there. They start at 8 o'clock this morning, 8 until 5 p.m., Monday through Friday until May 12th. Here, all you got to do is listen for the secret keyword. Then we ask you to text that in, qualify to win $100. That number is 95819. It's where you text in the secret keyword. If you win the $100, you qualify to get into the drawing for the grand prize jackpot of $25,000. Wanted to let you hear. Simone Ely is her name. She is a sports anchor in Mobile, Alabama, and the first
person to catch up with Nick Saban after the comments from Jimbo Fisher the other day about Jimbo and Texas A&M beating Alabama, what he had to say to the Houston Touchdown Club. Here is the interaction. This is from Twitter. And again, Simone Ely is the sports anchor from a Mobile, Alabama station. Here's how it went down. Love to get Carey's take on this.
Coach, got to ask, your friend Jimbo said yesterday that at some point while you're in Tuscaloosa, he was going to beat your butt. That wasn't the word that he used, but did you have any response for that?
In golf?
I think he meant on the football field.
Well, I'm sure there'll come a day, but is that what you're talking about?
That
football?
He was talking about football.
Oh, you was? Well, He used to be on my noontime basketball league, I guess. We're no longer partners, when it comes to that. No, they have a really good team, really good program, and, they're getting better and better all the time. And there's a lot of challenges in the SEC, and they're certainly one of the up-and-coming programs, and he's always been a great coach, did a great job for us when he was with us, and he's had a great career as a head coach. So, it's going to be a challenge for us, no doubt, when we have to play him.
Carey, that was the bear being poked. And the first part of that was the real reaction. The last part of that was coach speak, and you could have just inserted Charlie Brown's teacher in there and wah, 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 wah. My point is, you don't poke the bear when you're Jimbo Fisher and company. You had a great story. You were talking about South Carolina basketball being confident enough to win at Kentucky. But if Eddie Fogler would have come in and said, oh, yeah, South Carolina here, we're going to do it better than Kentucky does it. Because I have confidence we're gonna go beat Kentucky in the whole. Then everybody would have looked at Eddie Fogler and said, "Hey man, you're crazy. What are you doing?" What? And I realized that Texas A&M and winning every game but one last year certainly is on the rise. Certainly challenged for the college football playoff, and Jimbo has that program in a position to be a legit challenger for Alabama. But why would you poke a bear if you're in charge, man? You telling me after hearing that, Carey, that Nick Saban isn't going to have a little extra something for Jimbo and Texas A&M this year?
I'm sure. But I'm also confident that the players, Jimbo's players, will be playing a little bit harder for him. And now, again, he didn't say he was going to beat him, this upcoming season. He said at some point. I don't think anything is wrong with what Jimbo Fisher said at all. If the coach doesn't believe it, and I was telling the story about when we beat Kentucky here in Columbia. You're probably not going to believe me when I tell you this, but Coach Fogler did in the locker room prior to us taking the floor, said we were going to win the game.
Of course. You hit
That's
it on.
my point.
No, you hit on it perfect. You said Coach Fogler in the locker room. In the locker room. That's a huge difference then. In May,
to
the
Tim
Houston
Hill.
Touchdown Club.
So Tim Hill, you're Jimbo Fisher. You're speaking to the Houston Touchdown Club, and you posed the very same question.
Will you beat Nick Saban while he's at Alabama?
How do you answer that? I'd love to hear how you would answer that.
It's a tough question, right? And that's the fun
of
part.
Course it's a tough question.
That's the fun part to me about seeing coaches in these environments, because fans, they are the stockholders, right? The stakeholders in the program. They've invested the money. It is a charged environment, I think, in these things, right? But yep. I'll never forget going to the Long Family Football Operational Facility, the grand opening. Ken Long, he wrote the check, right? And right before they cut the ribbon, like, all right, Will, no excuses anymore. And that's what it was. And we see how that has worked out, right? And that's basically what the big boys in Houston with their oil money about to write their checks are saying right now, right? As they're asking that question, hey, you going to beat Saban? Right? If Jimbo says, well, I don't know, maybe we will or maybe we won't, we're going to give it our best shot, then they take that pen and they rip that check up and they walk out and the whole thing. Hey, I get it, man. But
so again, how would you have answered it?
I am fully confident that our team can beat Alabama.
You think the fan base wants to hear that?
No, they want to hear what they got, right?
Right, absolutely.
And I think this particular case is the interesting part about all of this, the most interesting part. First of all, that Jimbo and Saban know each other as well as they do, having coached before. But the problem that Jimbo has, that I think he is, and you haven't touched on here, that's unique to the situation, is Texas A&M college football is completely off on its own, living in a world that is not attached to reality. When you hire a college football coach and you give him a national championship trophy and say, just right in the year, what are you doing?
Well, Tim, don't you think I'd take I'd take it a step further. I think every program in the SEC is in a world of its own.
I think Vandy's got it. I think Vandy's got it figured out.
Outside of Kentucky, because of its basketball success, I think every program in the SEC is in the world of its own. If you don't believe me, look at the commitment. If you don't believe me, look at the coverage. If you don't believe me, look at how big the coaches' checks, their salaries are. If you don't believe me, look at how many fans come to the stadiums on Saturdays. You don't believe me, look at the expectations and lofty goals associated with each SEC program. Think about what you just said a few moments ago, about Will Muschamp down with the new operations builder. Yes, South Carolina might have had marginal success, but because they wrote the big check for that operations building, now the expectations change. I don't care who's in the SEC. I don't care who your opponents are. These are the expectations that we have, and this is what we believe you're capable of doing. No more excuses. So I think every program in the SEC is in the world of its own, regardless of the amount of success.
Yep, agreed. And what one program is on its own when it comes to results and production and wins and championships? It ain't Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So don't say you are. Don't say you're going to be there. Don't tell me about it. How about be within 28 points of Alabama first? How about beat Vandy by more than 5? Huh?
No way, Tim Hill. No way.
Unbelievable.
No way.
And Chris, I am not advocating this. Got to use coach speak at all times. That's why it's called coach speak. No. How about just don't be dumb? Don't write checks that you can't cash, especially to Alabama. That's all I'm saying. And especially,
you don't want to hear coach speak, though, Tim, do you?
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to use it all the time. There is a thing, though, of knowing when to shut your mouth, right? Especially this time of year, especially when you're asked that question. How about, here's the answer to that question you said was asked to Jimbo Fisher. Coach, are you going to beat Nick Saban in Alabama? Hey, Captain Oil Shark there. What do you think I think about that? How about you ask me again this time next year? Boom. Done. Drop the mic. Walk out. Sign the check. Take that thing.
Did somebody just send that to you?
No.
That was pretty good. Did someone just send that to you?
It took me about a minute to think about it. And guess what? I don't get paid $7 million a year to be the mouthpiece of Texas A&M athletics.
I think someone just sent that to you because that was pretty good.
No, I'd give him credit for it. I think it was the fourth sip of coffee that got me going this morning. Ask me that question next year, and then I'll give you the answer. And then when you come back next year in Alabama Beach, you say, hey, man, I need a better quarterback. You guys want to keep writing these checks. I need to make some more recruiting trips. 803-404-6100 is the number into the show. The name, image, likeness that the state of Georgia is doing, where they're taking 75% of this thing, maybe you can help me figure this out. I don't know what is going on there. This is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. We'll talk about it when we come back here. It's the early game. If you would like to jump on 803-404-6100, you can call or text on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game is on the air, online, on your phone, or
All right, so now I just switched back, and now we're just. So, Carey, now we're on just your phone audio, and it says you have muted yourself there. So I won't be able to hear you until you take yourself off mute there on your phone. There you go. Who says you're not tech savvy?
What's that, buddy?
Yep. Got you now. You're good.
Okay.
And so you can just leave this on. Like I can turn your mic on and off on here for the deal. We go on the show. It's no big deal.
Okay.
So it looks like we have a caller there. We'll try to get to him with the Saban thing. Craig's asking, how are the boys? I'm guessing he means your son. So we got a boy and a girl there, Craig. Yeah, that's typically what we talk about in the off-the-air stuff.
I like it.
your son is going to his sophomore year now. Is that right?
He's going into his junior year.
Yeah, I always get skipped, man. That's right. Because the last time we were in the studio, now it's been a year, so I missed the whole sophomore year.
Yeah,
which
you know,
was
he
a
made all region as a sophomore, as a starting point guard, and we've been playing AAU. I've been in Atlanta 3 out of the last 5 weekends, man. I absolutely hate
Wow.
this AAU stuff.
Yeah, I knew you weren't a big AAU guy to begin with.
Oh man.
So that stuff. Well, did you play AAU back in the day at all?
Oh yes, yep. It was different back then though.
Right.
It was the AAU teams were coached by the high school coaches, so there was more purity associated with AAU back then. And you know, hell, our parents couldn't even afford to come to the games. Now, all of the parents, for some strange reason, are able to afford going to all of the games. And that's a pretty hefty financial commitment, man. I'm telling you, it's expensive going every weekend, gas, hotel, food. You're talking $300-$400 a weekend.
Easy,
And that's
right?
just me and my son. Imagine
Right. Yeah, as you were talking about that, I mean, you think it's crazy. Like, at least your son is going into his junior year of high school now. He's played a couple of high school ball. He's going into his junior year of high school. So, like, because that makes sense. Now he's getting to that place where he can be recruited and the whole thing, and it's legit. How about half his age, league baseball?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. They're not travel league. Travel baseball for 8-year-old kids is where I'm at.
Yeah.
This thing boggles my mind. It is crazy.
It is.
Like last night, my kids are 8-6, and they're on the same little coach pitch team, and they were up 3-0 in the last inning, and the other team scores 4 runs with 2 outs, and I think maybe 2 or 3 of them knew what happened, that they had lost, you know. And then afterwards, I was like, "Hey, anybody got any questions?" And one kid was like, "Yeah. Do we have snacks?" Like, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
There's some of these, man, it's crazy. 8-year-old travel baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard baseball is as bad as basketball. I've heard a lot of horror stories about baseball also.
Oh, we lived it for quite a while. And let me tell you, when it came to, we told our son if he was, so super interested and really want to keep going, in high school and stuff like that, we would support him and whatever. But, it's brutal. It's brutal in Lexington, and we didn't want to deal with the BS. And because we had heard that if you are not tall, as a parent, if you are not tall, if you are overweight, you do not go anywhere with your kid or on the baseball field, because they will assume that's how the kid is going to turn out. Like, we'd heard those types of things where it's like just ridiculous. We were not. So
if my son, if there was a way for my son to get recruited without having to play in the AAU tournaments, I would never go to another AAU tournament in my life.
I believe it.
Yep.
That sounds like we can set you up for a captain's rant here coming up in hour number 2.
Nah.
No?
Hey, the AAU guys already think that they've been ostracized, and because of the negative connotation that comes along with AAU basketball. I've been the one guy that kind of tried to connect the dots with the high school coaches, so I don't want to beat them up just yet.
Gotcha. Yeah. You let me know when you're ready for that one.
I will. It'll be much sooner than we all expect.
I will say, when we played travel ball, some of it wasn't bad. There was one coach who I could have gotten violent with, because he really was that. He had a reputation of being harsh, and he totally went back on everything that he said. And it's like, you don't treat my kid like that. And I still could have issues with that. But for the most part, we really did have good experiences with travel ball. That was good stuff. But there were some teams where you could tell, man, it was like the opposing coach on the Bad News Bears.
Hmm.
You guys right.
Georgia, what are you doing? I'm not talking about the Bulldogs specifically, Kirby Smart or Georgia Tech specifically. I'm talking about the state of Georgia. Yesterday, the governor, Brian Kemp, signed it into House Bill 617. And Carey, I think you and I are on the same page here. If we can avoid combining politics and sports, we absolutely will.
Good luck.
Right. We can't do it here.
Nah.
Name,
No.
image, likeness is not the triple threat of reasons why I got into talking about sports. Like the off the field, the personnel stuff in pro sports, the salary cap implications, all that stuff to me is the boring part of sports, or not the part that I enjoy. But this has to be talked about because of just the direct impact it has, especially on Gamecock athletes, especially on Gamecock football players, because of the immediacy of this thing. July 1st is what Georgia signed. This is less than 2 months away. That they'll be able, that college athletes in the state of Georgia will be able to earn money off their name, image, and likeness starting July 1st. Well, at this point, that will also, I think, be against NCAA rules because they hadn't figured it out yet. Because they're trying, I think, to pass one piece of legislation to make sure that everybody's playing by the same rules. So to avoid this exact situation going on in Georgia, where they say, hey, guess what? Congratulations, July 1st. You can start doing this. But schools can also take 75% of what you earn, throw it in a pot. As long as athletes graduate a year later, they can split up your money. What? Well, who thought this was a good idea? And how is this anywhere close to a fair deal for a student athlete to give up 75%? I mean, I'm trying to teach my kids right now the American Revolution is what they're on, talking about the Boston Tea Party and the whole thing. This is making the old British look fantastic. At least they helped set up some infrastructure. And so what are you 75%? I could maybe like 10%, 25 max is like a tax, right? I can see that. But 75%, you're taking almost all of it. Carey, help me out here. I know we only have about a minute or so left in this hour. What? Plus, are you for or against? Help me out.
Well, very seldom am I left speechless. I really don't have an answer or a response to that. I don't get the logic. I'm big on reasoning and rationale, and maybe I need to hear their rationale, their reasoning for wanting to do something like that. And the other side to it is I like where we are when it comes to, getting paid for image and likeness. And I was just at my mother's a few days ago, and I told her once again that she had me much too soon. She should have waited to have me about this time right now, because Coach Fogler taught me, and he informed me that I had charisma and personality, and I can promise you that I would have maximized every cent, every opportunity to make sure I got paid while I was in college in Columbia.
And I'm sure you would have been great with, hey, this is the deal I worked out.
Absolutely.
I get 25% of it.
Now, I wouldn't have been good at that. I wasn't good at math, but I'm good at counting money.
Unbelievable. Like, if you're Kirby Smart, don't you have to come out and say, hey, man, this is not what we're looking for, guys. You're deciding between Georgia and Florida, and you're going to deal with that.
Just look for a lot of backdoor deals to be made.
Hour 2 coming up here on the early. You're still good there, man. That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Man, that went by pretty quickly. I think we only talked about 2 or 3 things. That took the entire hour, my friend. Where's
Yeah.
Patrick this morning? I thought maybe Patrick would be on with us. Where's he?
He's going to hop on with Bill later.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's young. He can't handle both.
We wear him out enough. I think he's,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Very much so.
and he also does the baseball games on the weekend. So he'll be in on Saturday and Sunday. That guy is a workhorse.
Yeah, is he still driving for Uber?
No, he got in that accident a while back. I think that ended all of that.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had busted up his arm, I think.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine now.
We were still in the studio when it happened, and
Yeah, it's
something
been a
with
while.
his elbow. He had to have surgery.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So he does the overnight UPS shift.
Oh, okay. And he comes in the morning? And he
Yeah.
joins you in the morning?
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
But
Does he
you
go
you
straight
remember,
to sleep after the morning
remember
show?
those days.
Yep. Sometimes he works in a shower or something in between, but that's the end of his day. Usually is the morning show.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim, that's crazy stuff, man. So I never thought, like, I get the taking money from the NCAA and putting that in a pot and sharing it, right? Because it's a one big group and they make the group deals, and if you want to take some money from them and then disperse it that way, I got no problem with that. But you're taking money from individual deals based on an individual's name, image, and likeness. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe how they can set it up to where if the school makes a deal to put out individual name, image, and likeness, maybe that's where they can take that 75% and disperse it.
And to take it a step further, when you really break it down and you look at the makeup of all of the teams, the most successful teams are going to be the ones that reap, in terms of individual players, they're going to be the ones that reap the biggest benefit. And to take it even a step further, you're still only going to have a handful of players that are going to really, really make good deals.
No doubt.
So let's talk about a school like South Carolina. How many guys on that team do you think will be good enough to ink deals across the city when it comes to name and images?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what kind of money you're talking about, right? We're talking 5-figure deals, maybe 3 dudes, right?
Exactly. So now those 3 dudes would have to put 75% of what they've earned and what they created into a pot where they'll never be able to benefit from.
Right.
Think about that.
I mean, you talk about creating an environment to hide money. That's it.
Exactly.
And
That's
then, some of these deals, like you say, well, we'll pay you a base salary, and then you'll have the opportunity to make money based on performance or something. And I can just see it being like waiting tables, right? Like you get tips instead, and that doesn't get reported, and that goes straight to your pocket. Oh, what a mess.
I tell you one thing, this wouldn't be good for a guy like me with my ability to be creative. This would not be good for a guy like me with my ability to be creative and blur the boundary.
I hear you.
You talk about backdoor deals.
Unbelievable. All right, so you got a fan on the text line. We'll get into it when we get back in and talk a little bit more about Saban and Jimbo.
Okay.
And we just And we just have Gamecock Larry on the phone.
All right. So I think Gamecock Larry Carey the other day got a pacemaker put in.
Oh, wow. Good.
I'll have to hear how he's doing.
Good.
Why?
So, Carey, the toughest part about the live video stream is not getting the bathroom breaks in for me.
Yeah, I'm normally good. I don't usually have to get up and move once we start the show.
All right, heading back in.
Right.
Oh, all 3 breaks this hour, Tim.
All 3. Gotcha. So, Carey, we're going to try to hit the first break. We're going to try to do the first break here at about 10 or 12 after.
Okay.
All right, you're up.
Not this morning. The captain, Carey Rich, helping to fill in for Bill Gunter. Bill filling in for Heath Klein from 4 to 7 today and then on Monday as well as Heath gets a little time away. Happy to have Carey in here. You can find him on Twitter, by the way, at captain_03. And in hour number 1, wait a second, did I get your, I did get your Twitter handle. All right, that was a lucky guess at the captain_03. Hour number 1, Cool Care Heating and Air text line, anonymous texter. Carey, 45-0 over Tim on the Jimbo comments. Carried your mail every time, Tim. This is the off season. Come on. So if you're just joining us, Carey is pro Jimbo Fisher in the comments that came out recently about going to beat Nick Saban's butt and going to do it as well or better and better, I think is how he said it exactly, than Alabama and that program has done to Texas A&M. Wanted to let you hear, you're just waking up this morning, and I know you probably heard some of this conversation yesterday, right, about how I think this is one of the dumbest things of all time, and Jimbo is not going to work out great for him. But the response from Nick Saban, a reporter caught up with him, and Jen, let's just play basically the first half of this because he goes into coach speak and I get bored real quick. But the first part of this is really interesting. Simone Ely is the reporter's name. She's a sports TV reporter for Mobile, Alabama TV station. This comes off of her Twitter account, a little exchange with she and Nick Saban.
I was going to ask your friend Jimbo said yesterday that at some point, he was going to be your butt. Did you have any response on that?
In golf?
I think he meant on the football field.
Well, I'm sure there'll come a day, but is that what you're talking about?
And that's it. And he goes on and says, it's going to be a challenge in the program and the blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there'll come a day. That to me, Carey, is what's going to come of this. Now, Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M weren't going to sneak up on Alabama. Let's be real here, right? This is May. Last year, it was 52-24. But Alabama knows that Texas A&M, they only lost 1 game last year. They were the challenger in the West. They set up, I guess. I don't know what LSU is going to be, especially now that TJ Finley, the quarterback that we saw dominate the Gamecocks, is transferring as well once he gets 3rd string this year. And Ed Orgeron, I don't know if he can keep that program on the rails. It doesn't appear that he can. Certainly, it doesn't appear like they're going to get back to their national championship form anytime soon. So I don't know where they are. I don't know what Auburn's going to be now that they got a new coach in Brian Harsin over from Boise State. And They said bye-bye to Gus Malzahn, which I think is the coach in the SEC that's had the most success against Nick Saban head-to-head. I don't know how long Nick Saban's going to be there, but I do know there's one very easy thing to do as a coach in athletics, in sports in general. Don't write checks you can't cash, and don't poke the bear. And to me, that's what Jimbo's done here. And that was the bear right there saying, oh, really? Oh, okay. Thanks. I'll keep that right back there. And that'll be a little something extra if we need it. Alabama doesn't need something extra. They didn't need anything extra last year to win 52 to 24. But now they have something extra, and I don't think that's going to work out so great for Texas A&M. But you are, Carey, you are of the mindset, a confident coach, and what else is the guy supposed to say and the whole thing? And so you're on Team Jimbo here as opposed to Team Safe.
Yes, I'm on Team Jimbo, team, on team players, team locker room. So
whoa. Now you're blurring the lines real quick because this wasn't in the locker room. I'm with you. That you talk this way in the locker room. You have to. Of course. Your coach has to show belief in you.
But I also think you equally have to talk the same when you get in front of the boosters.
Great. Now,
as we alluded to last hour, is a fine line.
Right. And now we're getting somewhere, Carey, because boosters that's what this was, right? Yeah, I'm with you. Boosters, they need something, right? They want more information. They want more than what they read in the newspaper or on websites now or on their phones, whatever. And they're owed that. If they're writing the checks, to me, they are your stockholders. They are your benefactors, right? To a certain degree, they are owed that. Now the question becomes, all right, you're Shane Beamer. What do you say in this offseason?
Say the same exact thing that Jimbo Fisher said.
Well, then you're just going to be laughed at, right? We're going to beat Nick Saban's butt, and we're going to be better than Alabama? What are you talking about?
Well, I think if you're Shane Beamer, you had a great line. Someone sent you a great line the last hour. I think that line will be applicable to what Shane Beamer would should probably say. What was that line? Could you go and read that line from your phone?
I would be happy to give attribution to my ghostwriter here, but I don't have anyone that likes me that much to send me messages in the 6 a.m. hour. So your question was, how is Jimbo supposed to answer the question that was posed to him in Houston?
I am rocking with Jimbo Fisher. I don't think he said anything wrong. I think he said what he needed to say and what he should have said in front of the boosters. That is what the boosters want to hear. He's walking a fine line, as is every coach or any coach that's speaking to a booster, especially this time of the year. Because think about it. Spring ball is over. There's somewhat of a dull moment or dead period in between the start of football season. And if you're the coach, you got to find something or create some type of excitement that's going to hold the fans until the start of football season. This was nothing more than creating an element of excitement. This was nothing more than showing belief in the guys that are in that locker room. This was nothing more than getting the fans something to be excited about. I don't think anything is wrong at all with what Jimbo Fisher said. And if I'm in that locker room, I am pumped up and I'm ready to rock with Jimbo Fisher. But also I think a key element that we're missing is he never said when he was going to. He didn't say he was going to do it next year. He said at some point he's going to do it. I don't think anything is wrong with that. I think if he answers it any other way, I think now those boosters, now those guys or those females that are writing these big checks, now they're second guessing. Well, maybe he doesn't believe in, because fans are fanatical. Fans are passionate, regardless of what it looks like on paper, regardless of what it looks like when it comes to one team being, and we are talking about Alabama. So we're talking about Alabama and everybody else. I get that. They're the barometer. They've exuded with a degree of sustained excellence. I get that part of it. But when fans show up on that Saturday afternoon or that Saturday evening, you best believe that most fans are expecting their team to be successful against any other team that they're going against. Now, is it going to be far-fetched or a little bit difficult for some. Yeah, of course, especially if you're talking Alabama. But fans are emotional, and emotions are a whole lot more powerful than reasoning. I don't think anything is wrong with what Jimbo Fisher said. I'm rocking with Jimbo Fisher, and there was no other way he could have answered that, Tim Hill. I'm rocking with Jimbo.
I am fully confident in my team. Ask me this question again next year.
That's it.
That's the answer. That's
what you read last hour. That was a perfect script. I like that.
You said he was walking a fine line. Jimbo Fisher did not walk a fine line. He put his hands up above his head in the diving position, started waving his arms, let everybody look at him, and then he dove off. He didn't fall off the tightrope. He dove head first into the pool where the shark of Nick Saban and Alabama are circling. And now,
and Tim, honestly, when I first saw the headline, honestly, I said to myself, "What in the heck are you doing, Jimbo Fisher?" But then I went back and kind of saw the context and read the context. I understood where that statement came from and how he arrived at that statement. And once I was able to understand the context, I flipped and changed the way I was thinking about it. And again, I don't think anything is wrong with what Jimbo Fisher said.
DC on the Facebook live stream. I can't wait for that post-game press conference after Alabama beats them by 40-plus points. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Craig, what are you talking about? He dunked on Saban? Jimbo walked the plank. That's another good way of putting it, DC. He walked the plank on that fine line, that tightrope, and then he just dove off into the murky, shark-infested waters. Good luck with that, Jimbo. We'll continue to discuss because this leads me to the obvious question, Carey. All right, you know what's going to happen now. Gamecock Club,
my friend?
Gamecock Club meetings are coming up. Hey, Shane Beamer, are you going to beat Dabo while he's at Clemson?
Yes.
What's the answer?
I can't wait to see what and how he's going to answer that.
I agree. I can't wait to hear your advice about what the script that you would give him when we come back. 803-404-6100 is the number into the program. You can call us. We see you on the Love Chevy phone lines. Get into more of your calls as we roll on. You can also text us to that same number, 404-6100. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
It's a new year.
They're driven.
In a new
The boy got you here.
Huh?
I got you on here now. You got the mechanics of it down. Take off the headphones, knock the mic out of the way. You're good, right? Right in the phone. Nice job.
Good to go, man.
So I was playing golf in the Chamber of Commerce tournament yesterday at Fort Jackson and playing with my buddy Brian Jeffcoat, and the guy we got paired with, Jimmy, was a big North Carolina fan. So I was asking him about Hubert Davis. What's your take? Hubert Davis taking over.
You know, it's going to be interesting. He's a really, really nice guy. Almost too nice to be the head coach at North Carolina.
Right.
Because the game has changed with transfers and guys coming and going. Like North Carolina was never a part of it. North Carolina, Duke, those programs were so prideful they didn't have to be a part of it. That was one of the big reasons Roy Williams ended up leaving. So it's gonna be interesting. And then he has my guy Jeff Lebo, who is the associate head coach, I think. Jeff Lebo doesn't like recruiting. That's why, he doesn't like recruiting, and he left Auburn because Auburn wanted him to cheat. He wouldn't cheat. So he got out, and I don't certainly think he has to cheat at North Carolina because they're strong enough to stand on his own. But I don't. It's going to be really interesting. I just think Hubert Davis is like a little bit too nice, and maybe that's the new. Maybe that's the new trend, but we'll see.
You never played against him, did you?
I did not. He was a little bit before me.
Yeah, I remember him in the heyday. Jeff Lebo is one of the first guys I remember actually playing back in the day for North Carolina, growing up in that state, watching those guys play a bunch.
Yep.
So yeah, you gotta be the shark these days, right? Calipari kind of set the mold.
I was talking to Coach Foley the other day, and I said, Coach, I wouldn't want to get into it. I wouldn't want to get into it as an assistant coach right now.
No doubt.
I wouldn't want to get into it.
Well, now you're seeing it up close and personal in the AAU circuit, huh?
Well, I didn't really need this experience to see it because I've never detached. I was always really, really closely associated through friends, through high school coaches, AAU coaches, through college coaches. So I was fortunate to be able to get every perspective and kind of bring it all together. Like for instance, my son is playing 16 and under, but 90% of the kids that he's playing against in Atlanta are reclassed. So they're a year older.
Wow.
Okay, so you have 2 calls right now.
We got Gamecock Larry and Joe, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll get to them pretty quickly here. We'll do Joe first, and then Gamecock Larry. Look at Craig. Craig wants the recruiting scoop on CJ. Who's he getting looks from? He says.
Nobody's serious right now. He's getting ready to get into the teeth of it, going into his junior year. He's been invited to a few elite camps from a few in-state schools this summer. So he made our region last year as a sophomore. So we're looking to build on that going into next year. I need him to grow a few more inches.
Oh, wow.
It's a good one.
Broadcasting live from the Heritage Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. At Heritage Chevrolet, our first price is always our best price. So come visit our showroom and see why Heritage Chevrolet makes you smile. Download the Tune In app so you can take 107.5 The Game with you wherever you go. And now, back to the early game. For better or worse, with Tim and Bill.
You're up.
Today, tickets go on sale to see Genesis up in Charlotte. November 20th, they'll be at the Spectrum Center. We've been giving away tickets all week. We'll do it again this afternoon on the halftime show. Glad to have some concerts back, some live music. Glad to give away some tickets, and would love to give you a $50 IGA gift card as well. All you got to do is go on our website, 1075thegame.com, look at the contest tab, and check out Grill Bill. Throw in a few questions in there, as long as they are creative, and it'll be a fun way to put Bill on the hot seat there. Then you'll join us on Mondays here on the early game is when we've been doing this thing. I guess we'll make a bit of an adjustment, probably be Grill Patrick again this Monday morning because Bill filling in for Heath Klein. But it'll get you a $50 IGA gift card, qualify you to win the grand prize of the Camp Chef pellet grill worth more than $1,000. 1075thegame.com. Again, the place to sign up. Grill Bill sponsored by the South Carolina Pork Board, its member farmers, IGA Food Stores, and Camp Chef. So with Bill helping to fill in for Heath Klein, did it last night, also tonight or this afternoon and Monday afternoon, we've got the Captain Carey Rich helping us out here on the program. 803-404-6100 is the number. We've been talking about
Joe Fisher, his most recent comments that he's going to beat Nick Saban's butt, and his program's going to do it as well or better than Alabama's done it. And Joe would like to weigh in on that on the Love Chevy phone lines. 803-404-6100 again is the number. Good morning, Joe.
Hey, good morning. Carey Rich, you're spot on. And Tim, you got to understand, see, every player in the SEC or the ACC, if they don't believe they're going to beat Alabama and Clemson, to be honest, they shouldn't put a uniform on. And if the great coaches, if they don't believe and instill a belief in the players that they're going to win every game they play, they shouldn't be taking the field. And, that's all there is to say about that. And I will hang up and listen.
I'm glad you're going to hang up and listen, Joe, because I don't think you've been listening. I didn't say that Jimbo Fisher shouldn't believe or shouldn't have his players believe or shouldn't tell his players that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there is a difference between what you tell your players and what you let get out there. And even if you're naive enough to think right now as a head coach, Carey, that when you're talking to a certain group, then that's going to stay in-house and that's going to be in the trust tree or the circle of trust or whatever. Clearly, this is a great example that ain't happening. The Houston Chronicle got audio of this, and that's how this came out. So maybe you can give Jimbo a pass on that. Carey, you're not really going to advocate and go all in with Joe here and say, if Shane Beamer gets asked this question, he should answer with the same response, are you? If he gets asked the Carolina version of this question of, hey, are you going to beat Dabo Swinney and Clemson? And Shane Beamer should say, oh, yeah, we're going to beat Dabo's butt while he's at Clemson. Yeah. And guess what? We're going to do what they're doing, and we're going to do it better.
Yes. I'm all in with Joe. I am all in with Joe. And I expect Shane Beamer to answer that question in a similar fashion as what Jimbo Fisher and how he answered it. Yes. Yes. Otherwise, that's a part of the equation. You don't think that was talked about? You don't think during the hiring process that Shane Beamer was made aware of how important the Clemson game is? Take it a step further. He knows firsthand how important that Clemson game is to the University of South Carolina, because guess what? He was part of that team that had a lot of success. So he knows how it feels to be on the other side. You don't think he has the cheat sheet, so to speak. Now, having the cheat sheet and having the personnel and game plan and the Jimmys and Joes to be able to do it, those are two different things. But I expect Shane Beamer to answer that very same question in similar fashion. Yes, I'm all in with Joe. I'm rocking with Joe. Yes.
I don't think you're giving Shane Beamer enough credit. I think he is smart enough to know. He is PR savvy enough to know that if he answers the Dabo Swinney version of this question the way that Jimbo Fisher did, after his team's coming off a 2-8 season,
yeah,
as opposed to a 9-1 season, 10-1 season, then it will be laughable. It will be laughed at.
Yeah, but Tim, think about this. Whether he says it or not, regardless of how he answers that question or not, fans are going to be upset if we lose anyway. Oh. So it's not going to matter what he says or how he answers the question. And you know that.
No. I agree that there are some things that don't matter, but remember when Steve Spurrier said he'd be around 2 or 3 more years? Mm-hmm. Did that matter?
Is that a fair comparison?
I think it's an example of a coach saying something in the offseason that can and will be held against him in not the court of law, but certainly the more important court when it comes to college sports, and that's the court of recruiting.
This is how Shane Beamer should answer that question.
Oh, let's hear it. Okay,
Yes.
wait. Let's do this right then. Okay. So you're coming in. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gamecock Club meeting. Shane Beamer coming in. Son of Frank Beamer, legendary. Been in college football for 21 years as assistant, using all of these ingredients to come to Carolina and to get the Gamecock football program back on track. Shane, first question. Hey, Coach. Just wondered if are you going to beat Dabo Swinney while you're at Clemson? Let's hear it.
Absolutely, we're going to beat Dabo Swinney while he's at Clemson at some point. That team in the upstate has had a lot of recent success, and we're just going to continue to build. We're going to create a culture here that will at some point be good enough to not only beat Dabo Swinney, but be able to do it at a sustained level. And that's what we're looking forward to. And of course, we're going to beat Clemson while Dabo Swinney is there. And what does that do to the fan base? Everybody in that room, they're jumping, they're yelling, they're screaming, they're clapping, they're excited. And let's not forget that they probably are drinking some sweet tea along the way. So that exaggerates the enthusiasm that's already in place, right? So of course he's going to say, yes, we're going to beat Clemson. If he doesn't say he's going to beat Clemson, you know what? I don't know how confident he is if he doesn't say that. I hope he says it.
All right. I'm going to give you a chance to redo that. I know it's 7:27 in the morning and it's Friday, but if that was your best, let's get everybody excited speech, we got a lot of work to do, man.
Well, there you go. That's the fine line that coaches are facing and are forced to toe. That's right. That fine line.
Exactly. And they get paid millions and millions of dollars to do it. And I got no sympathy for them. And they got to do it better than what I just heard. I'm going to give you a chance to do it better than what I just heard. I'll give you my version of how that question should be answered. And we'll get into, man, this Georgia name, image, likeness thing that passed yesterday is, I'm hoping you guys can explain that to me, maybe help me figure it out. Going to hear from the legend that is Gamecock Larry as well when we kick off the second half of the show next. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach, Shane Beamer.
I'm a process-driven person.
Oh, and he got the mic on. He's all over it. Nice work. All right, we got another call about Saban and Jimbo from Ray. We'll do that and Gamecock Larry when we come back, and we're rolling, man.
Hey, also, by the way, Shane Beamer is going to be better than both of us could be, because I haven't seen or heard a better politician in South Carolina since he's taken a head coaching job. Man, is he
better be.
What, Tim Hill?
Yeah, he better be, man. 2.75. I'll get it done.
Do you see a lot of what he says as coach speak?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that he delivers it, and that's the thing, right? It's, if you read the words are pretty similar to what Will Muschamp or anybody else would say. It's the delivery, right? He actually can connect to people, especially at this point, right? He's across as a really genuine, energetic, likable guy, as opposed to Will Muschamp coming off of losing at Florida, who comes off as Nick Saban clone and would rather not be speaking right now and needs to go watch film.
Yeah.
But my question is, all right, how does this thing evolve, right?
Yes. Because it's all fun and games when you're on Twitter during non-football season and you're winning. But when that tide turns, man, this thing can get ugly, as we've seen with Holbrook, Frank, and Mustang. This thing turns quickly.
Yep. And I think Holbrook's the best example there of the constant calls we got during his tenure. He's a nice guy, but I think he's a great guy, but was how all those takes would begin. Now, you don't necessarily get those. You get those sometimes with Frank. Like, I think he's been great for the program. really appreciate that 2017 run, but how all those takes start.
Yep. And unfortunately, everything that's said out the butt will undo what was said prior to it.
For sure.
That's going to be the lasting memory.
Yeah, I don't know about he's a realist and tempers expectation. Like I think Muschamp was that way in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they all start out that way.
I think 2-8 automatically tempers expectation, right? 4-8 before then. The question is, if you're talking about instilling the culture of your program, how confidently do you speak about wins and losses? And then how do results go along with that? And then how does year one build on year two, and where do you go, right?
Yeah. By the way, why do I look much darker than you? Why do I look much darker than you and Jen?
It's that sun behind you, man. That sun's tough. It's all about the lighting.
Close the blinds.
All about the lighting.
For you.
But I like to think I have a pecan tan complexion, but I look really dark on this video.
Actually, you look like you're glowing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I like
Kind
that.
of a halo. Yeah.
Got the halo.
Yeah, I like it.
So your setup is better than Preston Thorne's was the other day. I think Preston also had the mask kicking. And I think your phone has better lighting than his from the other day. He was completely like blown out, and then it was like his head was kind of almost. It looked like it was that heavenly glow. I think he had but maybe it's because also that you're in the morning. He had the afternoon sun kicking.
Was he in studio?
Yeah.
Okay.
See if there's exactly. Let me see if there's another light.
Very angelic. Old St. Carey in there.
I was looking to see whether the lights were on. Yeah, exactly. We need those studio lights on right there.
That would make a big yeah. Yeah, that's a whole lot of light that is not
right.
Some things are.
All right, so you see, you got two calls.
Gotcha. Gamecock Larry and Ray, right?
Yes. Or you have, not you've got. Europe.
25 minutes from now, your first of 10 chances today to win $100 and qualify for a grand prize jackpot of $25,000. It's $25K workday payday every Monday through Friday through May 12th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., giving you a chance to listen for the secret keyword. All you got to do is text that to 95819, and you qualify to win that $100 and the grand prize jackpot of $25,000 right here on 107.5 The Game, where Captain Carey Rich helping to fill in for Bill Gunter this morning. Bill filling in for Heath Klein in the afternoon, and we're having a good time for sure discussing the
appropriate tone to strike, the appropriate comments to make as a college football coach right now in what is the offseason. This is as slow as it gets right now. Gamecock football players basically have the month of May off, and it's about to really get cranked up for the coaches and players. The players will return to campus by and large and start their off-season workouts, their summer workouts. But it's the coaches that will go back into a meat grinder unlike they've ever seen, I think, before, Carey, with the dead period from recruiting having extended as long as it has, more than a year, I guess, not being able to welcome people on campus. Now you're going to have on-campus visits. You're going to be able to work them out. So Shane Beamer and company about to get real busy real quick. So the question becomes, off this Jimbo Fisher, the recent comment saying he's going to beat Nick Saban's butt. Nick Saban just responded last night in golf. And then said, well, I guess there could be a time. And just the expression was it's classic stuff. If you haven't seen the video, you can check it out on my Twitter at TimHill1075. I retweeted that thing from a television reporter down in Alabama. But Carey's all in about being confident, speaking confidently publicly, especially to your alumni base, your fan base that very legitimately want to hear more than what a coach might say to another group of people, a more unbiased or just a media gathering or the whole thing. So now the question has become, well, what would Shane Beamer say when he's inevitably asked, are you going to beat Dabo Swinney and Clemson right now? I think an interesting answer on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line from Ray. Steve Spurrier was asked a similar question when he first got to Carolina about beating Clemson. His response was, if we do everything else, that will take care of itself. And Ray says that's the best way to respond to that question.
Yeah, but nobody liked that. You remember? Because
right.
Now some folks thought that he was minimizing the Clemson game and the importance of Clemson game.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was Steve Spurrier, he had enough equity in place to where you could pull from that equity, and a lot of people forgave him for that. But a Shane Beamer probably couldn't say the same thing because he doesn't have the same equity in place and will be fairly or unfairly judged a little bit differently. But I remember early on when Steve Spurrier put emphasis on winning the SEC championship more so than beating Clemson, and that wasn't well received at all.
Right, which is completely ridiculous when you look at the results, right? Who's the only Carolina coach to beat Clemson 5 times in a row?
Right.
And I get it.
Maybe something clicked.
To me, it all comes down to getting your football program to a certain level. And right now, I think Shane Beamer has to be honest with his fan base about the massive gap between Gamecock football and Clemson football. And that's why you can't come out and say, oh, we're going to beat Dabo's butt and we're going to get our program not just to where Clemson is right now. We're going to be better. To me, that would ring massively hollow. I don't think there's anybody who understands the gap better than the Gamecock fan base. They're the ones that have had to watch the 16 losses combined in the last 2 years. So
no, that's not true. That's not true. Certainly the fan base understands and they know the gap, but the coaches really, really know because the coaches study it a lot more. The coaches know from a talent standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, where they need to be to close the gap. So as easy as it looks for the fan base to see the gap, trust me, the coaches really, really know the gap.
Yeah, I might believe you if I didn't see what I saw last year. And the A&M game is the best example that I was talking about earlier. The way that A&M just completely made Carolina look silly. Whatever the Will Muschamp and Travaris Robinson and that defensive staff had evaluated and thought his team could do, they couldn't do. They just couldn't do it. It wasn't close. So I get it that the coaches have probably poured in more time and the tape and the whole thing, but I think sometimes coaches are also completely delusional. And if
completely delusional.
If that wasn't completely delusional last year, I don't know what was. Did you not see the LSU game? Did you not see the Florida game at the end?
To suggest, Tim Hill, that they are completely delusional. Every coach is going to games with their game plan.
Sure.
And once the game starts, now there's a game within the game because certain things might happen that you didn't necessarily prepare for.
No
so
doubt.
now all of a sudden you got a new game within that game. So if you don't have the personnel to make that quick adjustment, if you don't have that personnel to change in-game strategy, then it becomes nearly impossible to make up for that gap. But to say that coaches are delusional because their teams are getting beat by 30, 40 points, I think that's an unfair statement, Tim Hill. Sometimes they're just not good enough from a personnel standpoint. Sometimes the game plan just isn't equipped or applicable for that particular game because, again, once the game starts, now an entirely new game is going to begin. Mm-hmm. There's always a game within the game. Sometimes the really good teams are the ones that can adjust a lot quicker than the teams that are marginal. And I think we all would admit that this Gamecock football team last year was marginal, and I'm probably being as diplomatic as I possibly can be. Would you agree with that?
Well, to some degree, but I just saw the NFL draft too.
Yeah,
where
right.
there were three guys from that defense. That was a bad defense.
Yeah.
One guy was taken 8th overall, another guy in the 3rd round, another guy in the 6th round.
By the way, Tim, even I was talking to a few buddies the other day, and I don't ever miss a South Carolina football game. I'm locked in. It's almost like a holiday for me because my boys and I, we get together and we watch football. We watch South Carolina football, but my eye does not take me beyond the surface. Meaning, I know what I'm watching with basketball. I know what I'm watching with football from the surface, but I'm not going to try to be cute and break it down and talk about the different coverages and the different schemes and all of that good stuff. My eye doesn't take me beyond that. But even with watching J.C. Horn every week, I knew he was good. I knew he had value. I knew he'd become a commodity in the SEC. But, man, I didn't know, even after watching him every week, I didn't know he was like the number 8 pick overall good. Did you know he was that good?
Oh, no way. But I didn't know that Dante Robinson was the number 10 pick back in the day. I didn't know that Jonathan Joseph, I think, was, 16 or 18. I think we realized Stephon Gilmore was really, really good during his time. But it probably took him playing a little bit of offense to help us out with that. I just think that's how really good corners are. If you're really quiet in the game, that means the other team respects you that much to not even go at you. It took Auburn and their pride and their stupidity for trying to go at J.C. Horn as much as they did, I think, for a lot of us to realize that J.C. Horn was that good, but not even still that good. I mean, eighth overall, first defensive player drafted is really impressive stuff for sure. We need to get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Ray's been waiting patiently to weigh in on the Jimbo, Nick Saban, and off-season talking aspect of college football right now. Hey, Ray.
Hey, guys. Hey, Tim. How you doing, Captain?
Hey, doing wonderful, my friend.
Anyway, guys, all right, thank you. Just wanted to weigh in on that. Yeah, I'm kind of like the captain about Jimbo, and the thing is, Jimbo's done it before. Jimbo, he was at Florida State. He had Jameson Winston, so he's been through the whole 3-ring circus. Of being a top-notch program and all that, and he knows that he's got those deep pockets out there in Texas land. He's got those oil refinery guys and those people. And AM wants to win big, and I think he knows he's got something over there. I think to some degree Jimbo's been playing them because he knows that he's on the verge of being a national power. I really believe that. And getting over to Beamer, I'm gonna tell you guys, if I'm Beamer, I'm telling you, I'm under promising and hopefully I can and over deliver. I'm coming across like, we won 6 games the last 2 years. But I can guarantee you one thing: from day one, we're gonna be a fun team to watch. I'd still like that, man. That's how I would do it. And Captain, one last question I want to ask you: has it been official yet? And this is kind of a serious part here. Is Brian and Cousinard coming back?
Yeah, I hope so. From what I'm told, in conversations that I've shared with Frank recently, his expectation is that both guys will be back. But unfortunately, when you have that window of opportunity, and there's a really big window, I think players have until July, the first week of July, to make their decision. And as we've seen, a lot can happen between now and July. And all it takes is for one person to get into the ear of the player or the player's families to make it intriguing enough to change the thought process or change the initial plan. But as of recently as just a few days ago, for what I'm told, both guys are going to be back. But I'll probably be a lot more comfortable once it actually happens because, again, a lot can happen between now and the first week of July.
So not official yet, Ray, but a good question for sure. And recent history would point towards that. I think all these guys that have had the opportunity to make what I would assume would be a poor decision that have entered their name in the NBA draft. They've gotten the information. They've come back to school. A.J. Lawson did it a couple of times. Chris Silva did it. You can go down the list a little bit. It was P.J. Dozier, I guess, the only recent guy to announce. But he announced, days after he made himself eligible, that he was hiring an agent, and he had kind of moved on in that way, and there wasn't any kind of a real big gray area And it will be interesting to see Keyshawn Bryant for sure, and Jermaine Couisnard, then how they affect the basketball program if they do come back. Wanted to get to Gamecock Larry in this segment as well. Our favorite 86-year-old caller, recently in the hospital and now back home, as I understand it. Gamecock Larry, how you feeling, first of all?
Well, I'm feeling okay. I just got to take it easy for about 4 to 6 weeks. But I'm going to tell you, I want my coach to come out and say the same thing that Jimbo said. I want my coach to tell the fans and tell the team, we're going to beat them any game, any sport. The Gamecocks going to beat them. The coach, that's what the coach will tell his team. I don't care if they're playing the New England Patriots. The Gamecocks going to beat them. Another thing, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball. I got it figured out. We are going to sweep one of the 2 teams we play at home. That's Mississippi State or Tennessee. We're going to sweep one of those. That's going to be 3. We're going to win the next series 2-1. That's going to be 5-1. We're going to go to Kentucky. We're going to win at least 2 games. That's going to be 7-1. So if we can go 7-2 in the next 3 series, we will make the playoffs and we will be whatever you call it, host. But if we don't, if we get in the playoffs, we're going to go. And I want to say one thing about the football team. Everybody's asking, what do you expect from the football team? I tell you what I expect. Until we lose one, 12-0. If we lose one, 11-1, and 10-2 on down the line. That's about all we got to say. Gamecock National, Gamecock Larry is doing just fine. Go Gamecock.
Gamecock Larry, ladies and gentlemen. Great to hear from you, sir. Hang in there. And definitely take it easy. I'm glad he didn't get too riled up. Would have been the biggest upset of all time, Carey, if he would have come on and said, you know what? I think Jimbo Fisher talking a little bit too confidently for my liking. By the way, Gamecock's going to go 12-0, but Shane Beamer should really come out with tempered expectations and not talk like that. Dramatic conclusion to hour 2 coming up here. The Captain Carey Rich helping to fill in for Bill Gunter at the Captain_03, where you can follow him on Twitter. I'm at Tim Hill 1075. Jen is at Jen Jensen. Morris, this is the early game on 1075 The Game.
The home of the Gamecock and new head football coach Shane Beamer.
Yeah, York. Sounded good.
Yep. You're going to force me to watch baseball this weekend, so I can give my analysis Monday.
I hear you. Don't worry. I'll be able to help you out with that. I'm planning on watching all weekend.
Good.
But that's the thing, too. It has to be a really interesting situation to get the baseball conversation completely to dominate this time of year.
Right.
Especially with the way the last several years have gone, not having gone to the College World Series for a while.
Yeah, I was rooting for Kingston, especially after they got off to a pretty good start, because there's so much pressure on them.
Yep, sure.
And that pressure isn't going anywhere. it
no doubt, man. So are you good to 8:15 this morning, or do you need to jet right after?
No, I'm good to 8:15. I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm good to
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
No, I love it, man. I haven't been on with you in a long, long time.
It has been a long time. We might be doing a little bit more of this as, especially the next couple of months. This is about as good a time as we get to take the vacations to get people some time off.
All right, that sounds good. Again, remember, I told you, man, I'm an early morning guy anyway. So.
Yep. So yeah, that's what we'll do in hour number 3. We'll give you a chance to redo your Shane Beamer to Gamecock Club speech.
I need a ghostwriter. Send me the same
Yeah,
ghostwriter.
I'll give you a little extra time.
Yeah.
You can make all the calls you need to make in the next break.
Yeah, exactly. Let me send out a few messages so I can get one of my ghostwriters to send me something.
There you go. It's all about the staff. What are you shaking your head at, Jen?
Did one of my most brilliant traffic updates and did not go on the air. Doing too much. Program 2, program 1. That was award winning. I'm just telling you.
They always do sound so much better when they're not recorded, don't they?
Do they not? I mean, I'm just telling you. So anybody paying attention, there's no accidents, so we don't have to worry about it anyway.
If it makes you feel better, I think that feeling is a little less embarrassing than doing a television interview and not hitting record.
Oh, no. Yeah,
Those are the worst. I mean, I still remember it's been 21 years since I was a senior in college. I'll never forget going to Spring Valley High School talking to Michael Boulware at the time, who was amazing as a high school senior. Ended up playing in the NFL. Did an interview with him, but I never turned on the mic. So my professor, when I'm showing the story to the class, was like, "Hey, that was a really good story, but we never heard from him. Why didn't we hear from him?" Yeah,
I was wanting you all to
switch.
focus. Wow.
Unbelievable, man. 21 years that's been, like it was yesterday.
Do you miss
those things will haunt you?
No, I don't. I guess I miss some aspects of it, but definitely not much, man. I don't miss the schedule, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're on the screen right now, It's all becoming one thing.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's a reason why I went into radio.
Well, I don't think my kids get the concept of the separation. Because my kids go on our smart TV and they watch YouTube. They watch YouTube shows. That's TV to them.
Yeah, you're right. YouTube and TikTok, right?
No, I don't have on the TikTok yet, thank goodness. Oldest is only 8.
Yeah.
A little better?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
So it looks like Hope might be able to help you out there in hour number 3. She's on your side. When the captain speaks, we all listen.
That's right. I'm gonna tell Hope I need a ghostwriter.
He needs a speechwriter there.
Yes.
All right, gonna have just a little over a minute.
Gotcha.
You're up.
Captain Carey Rich helping to fill in for Bill Gunter this morning and having some fun on the early game for sure, especially Saban and Jimbo Fisher.
How confidently one should speak these days, both publicly and in the locker room. Which side do you weigh in? Carey's all in. He's team Jimbo. I am team not Jimbo. Is the best way to put it right now. Carey, what about no way Eddie Fogler's on team Jimbo right now, right? I mean, he did a great job of being able to understand you can't say certain things publicly. You just don't do it.
30. Yeah, but Coach Fogler wouldn't be a good comparison because he was smart. He wasn't a rah-rah guy at all.
Right.
He was all about strategy. He was all about game planning, game preparation, doing your job. he wasn't a 15 at all. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even imagine him going to speak to the boosters.
That's a good point. That wasn't really his thing. You'll get a chance to deliver your Shane Beamer-esque answer. Will you beat Dabo? That's coming up in hour 3.
I need a speechwriter.
Talk Athletics Director Ray Tanner, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, that might be a job these days, right? The way these support staffs are growing these days, maybe that's the next thing, right? You said Beamer is the best politician in South Carolina.
He is.
Hiring speechwriters.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they have all types of jobs that they're offering to these football programs right now. Good gracious, man. And all of them are getting paid too. I'm talking about nice salaries.
Well, that's big business, no
It's a
doubt.
big business. But it's something that I would not want any part of.
Why not?
There's no stability. There's no continuity. You're forced to live a nomadic lifestyle. I mean, think about coaches like when they lose their job, man, how they just have to uproot and go to another city, go to another program. There's a reason I've never gotten into it. And I've had a few opportunities early on to get into it. I just didn't want to get into it. The pressures to win.
No, I hear you, man. And that's what fans never really, either they don't realize or they don't care, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, so the question is, like, how much does the money offset that? The older I get, the more I think it doesn't.
I'm with you 100%. Early on, I was, your eyes got big when you thought about the six-figure salaries, and all you have to do is coach basketball, right? That's the easy part. Coaching basketball is coaching football. Those are the easiest part.
Good news, Steven. Thanks for the heads up on that. Yeah, Bill says, Captain, you can just do it for a few years and save up those paychecks.
Hey, I'm telling you, I had a conversation just a couple of months ago about that, and I was asked, would that be something that I'd consider, and said no. I said no. It's just like times are so crazy right now. Times are so crazy right now. Like I said, the coaching part is the easiest part. The hardest part is recruiting. How do you maintain a program where kids are not transferring in and out? How do you deal with the parents? How do you deal with, because parents aren't like they used to be when we came through. Our parents came to the games, they supported, they weren't as vocal. Man, they're very vocal now. I just actually had Coach Gump on the podcast, and he said there's no way he could coach in today's environment. No way he could do it. But I would not want to get into college coaching.
To me, it's not that they're more vocal. It's that the avenue for their voice to be heard is clear now, right? I think parents always used to say it, or at least to some degree, right? But a lot of times it would be in the car on the way home, and that's it.
Yep.
Live forever on the internet and get right back to the coach immediately.
Yeah, I had my son laughing. We were on our way to Atlanta a couple of weekends ago, and we were talking about all of the parents that were, coming to the game. And he said, "Daddy, did Granny ever come to your AAU games?" I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "She barely made it to my high school games, and that wasn't until after she got a car." I said, AAU was seen as fun and recreational back then. Now AAU is more of a priority than almost high school to a certain extent.
Right.
So I kind of use that as a teacher moment. Getting him to understand, how supportive we as parents have been to make sure you have all of the tools to be successful. So, this is why you should go out and do your best, blase, blase, blase. We were forced to do it differently,
So how do I avoid being the old guy? Because I feel like it's the old guy take now to say it's more special to play for your high school and your community than it is to play for any other team. It just means more. How do we, as a sports society, how do we latch on to that idea of representing your community and yet still live in the 21st century, I guess is my question. Is that possible?
It is possible, and I think it starts with us as parents. Like, I've been very intentional and very deliberate in getting my son to try to stay, well, not necessarily stay, because they're not going to stay off Instagram. They're not going to stay off social media. But I've tried to get him to keep his focus on himself and his development and not get caught up in what people are saying about other players and this player getting an offer, this player making all region. Your focus is on yourself. Worry about the things that you can control. And the good thing about, I know with me, is I involve my son in a lot of what I do in the community. So I haven't had to share with him how special it is, or how special it was for me to go and play for the University of South Carolina or play for C.A. Johnson High School and go back to the community. So he's seen it. And, today's generation of kids, they need to see and touch things a little bit more tangible. So.
All right, we'll see. It didn't look like Carey did that speech writing there. See if he's got anything for his Beamer redo. All right, so I got a So Jen want to do a little bit of Saban here in the first segment. We'll do it pretty early, not off the top though. All right, here we go.
There was no end in sight.
Wow.
Jen, please get this this song just on a loop, and we'll play it at like 10 and 20 and 30 minutes after the hour.
How about that? End the show, huh? I sat differently today, so I was not staring right at the computer. You've seen how I've sat. I wasn't looking at the time.
Now, here's Tim Hill and Bill Gunter.
Takes a village to raise Bill. It really does.
On 107.5.
You're up.
Perfect intro into hour number 3 here, because you may not think so with Bill Gunter not being on today's show, but now that he's in charge of Heath's show, did it last night, he will do it today from 4 to 7 and Monday from 4 to 7. He actually does pay a little bit more attention to how that thing goes. That is the luxury that the Captain Carey Rich has today, is that he's just hanging out, giving some speeches this morning, right?
Speeches. Hey, I am ready to give the speech if I'm Shane Beamer when posed with the Clemson question. I am going to sound just like Shane Beamer.
Oh, okay. I like the confidence there, because earlier your first response was, I'll give it a 2 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? that wasn't good at all. And since then, I've reached out to a speechwriter, and I'm better prepared now.
Now, this is coming off of the recent statement from Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M head football coach, asked at the Houston Touchdown Club, are you going to beat Nick Saban while he's at Alabama? He says, yeah, we're going to beat his butt while he's at Alabama, and we're going to get our program basically to that level or be better than them. And then the follow-up was asked of Nick Saban by an Alabama television reporter, Simone Ely, is who you're about to hear here, and Nick Saban's response. And Jen, we'll do what we've done before, just the beginning part of this before he goes into the coach speak, blah, blah, blah. Here it is.
Coach, got to ask, your friend Jimbo said yesterday that at some point while you're in Tuscaloosa, he was going to beat your butt. That wasn't the word that he used, but did you have any response for that?
In golf?
I think he meant on the football field.
Well, I'm sure there'll come a day, but is that what he's talking about? Football?
He was talking about football.
Oh, he was? Wow. He used to be on my noontime basketball league, I guess. We're no longer partners, when it comes to that. Now, they have a really good team, really good program.
And there he goes, the coach speak thing. When it comes to football, it's fantastic. That's going to be a shirt, I'm guessing, in Alabama. That will be pretty popular this offseason. In golf on the front, when it comes to football, either way. This is kind of my point when it comes to all this, right? Jimbo Fisher has created something that didn't have to be there. I get it. You want to be confident. You want to exude confidence as a leader. You got to make sure your players believe in what you're doing. That's a locker room thing. You get that out, and then you're writing checks that you can't cash. And then I get it, too, that you got to give your fans something. You got to give your stakeholders something to believe in. But also, you want to make sure that you don't do what Will Muschamp did a couple of years ago. You put it out there, hey, this is the deepest, most talented depth we've had. Well, that created the expectation. And then you fell flat to that, and that spelled the end, the beginning of the end for Will Muschamp and company. So we are continuing to put the Carolina spin on this, and knowing that the Gamecock Club season will be upon us pretty soon. And Shane Beamer, this is one of the reasons he got hired. And Carey, you and everybody else that has listened to Shane Beamer since he's been hired at Carolina has been impressed. We've all been impressed with the way he's come into the job with a fresh perspective, a fresh energy, speaking positively, optimistic, talking about the culture and the whole deal. It's been really impressive. I think you told us he's the best politician in the state of South Carolina right now, right? He is. It's not even close.
Did I say that?
That's what I heard. See, the thing about the live video stream is that when we're talking in the commercials, we're still actually talking in. If there's
what naivety, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
now you know.
I think he's been the best politician in the state of South Carolina since his arrival, even surpassing Dabo Swinney, because Dabo Swinney was pretty doggone good. And seriously, I think he's kind of taken that Dabo approach early on. A lot of people thought Dabo was goofy when he first became the head coach at Clemson. He was even referenced as a cheerleader because of his enthusiasm and the excitement that he exuded with on the sidelines. And I don't think any of us thought that it would translate to the level of success that we've seen that Clemson football program enjoy. And I think Shane Beamer, to a certain extent, has adopted that approach, and he's come out of the gate early. And make no mistake about it, he's done his research. He's done his due diligence. He's heard all of the things Will Muschamp did not do well. So, common sense and simple logic says, okay, let's do something opposite of what Will Muschamp did. We all knew that Will Muschamp didn't necessarily appreciate press conferences. He didn't really appreciate having to deal with the media. He was a football coach, and that's all he wanted to do. Now, got to know him beyond that. He is as fun-loving. He's as funny and charismatic. He's personable, and nobody would believe that. But he was that guy away from the mic. He was that guy away from the cameras. Shane Beamer has brought his personality, his charisma, his enthusiasm, his excitement in front of the cameras, and that's the way he's trying to lead the program. He's trying to inject this program with that same enthusiasm. And he's done a really, really good job early on. And I certainly don't mean that in a disrespectful manner when I talk about just the politics side of it or the politician side of it. But I do think that he's been very promising, and he's done enough to generate an interest. He's done enough to generate an excitement. Now, even after coming off of a tough season, we all know sports. We all know big time sports. We all know sports here in Columbia. We all know sports here at the University of South Carolina. And I think when we look at the coaches that have come through the last several years, I think that's been the case for most of the coaches. Now, the difficult part, and it is difficult, the difficult part is translating that excitement, translating that enthusiasm into wins, translating those that enthusiasm into dubs. And when you're able to do that, man, it's a whole lot more fun to be the head coach as opposed to when you're not able to do that. Then, as we've seen here the last several years, going back to Holbrook, going back to Muschamp, as recently, even for my guy, Frank Martin, we all know what he was subjected to the last couple of months with the scrutiny and the uncertainty and whether or not he was going to be the head coach. It's not as much fun. So you're hopeful that with the excitement that Shane Beamer has come out of the gate with, I think we all are hopeful that he's able to translate those that excitement into wins. Again, it makes it a lot more fun when you're able to do that, my man.
No doubt about it. And to me, that's my whole point with Jimbo Fisher. You got to back it up. And beating Alabama, being the first assistant coach to do it, because the record right now is 0-23 of Nick Saban assistants against Nick Saban as head coaches. Jimbo Fisher's part of that. You're going to be the first guy to do that. You make history. You don't need to add to the enjoyment of that. You don't need to pile anything extra into that. That would be what it is.
Yes, he does.
Why does Jimbo have to do that right now?
Because he needs to keep the stakeholders happy. He needs to keep them excited. He needs to give them something excited about prior to football season. Also, let me share this little secret with you. We as fans, we see and we hold certain coaches and certain programs in a certain regard. If we're talking Nick Saban, we're talking Alabama football, regardless of the sport, professional sports, college sports, Alabama is held in the highest regard, right?
Now it is. It wasn't when
let me share this secret.
Saban took it over.
Let me share this secret. While there's a level of respect that fellow coaches have and share for an Alabama team or for a Nick Saban, they don't revere Nick Saban and that program the way we do as fans. In their crazy, crazy minds, because you don't get to that level if you're not a stubborn thinker. You don't get to that level if you're not confident. You don't get to that level if you're not crazy enough to think that we're good enough to beat a particular team on a given day. Now, you're realistic when it comes to the program overall. You're realistic to the needs. You're realistic when it comes to personnel. You get all of that. But they don't revere coaches and programs the way we do as fans. So as crazy as it sounds, as unrealistic as it sounds, they're of the belief that we could be successful against any team on any given day. And I think the one thing sports have shown all of us is that there's some truth to that. Now, are you going to do it 8 out of 10 times? Are you going to do it 9 out of 10 times? Probably not when it comes to certain programs. But on any given day, I think sports have shown all of us that it is certainly capable of happening, which is why, again, I don't have a problem at all with what Jimbo Fisher said. As a matter of fact, if I'm in that room and I'm a stakeholder, I am pumped up. If I'm in the locker room, I'm ready to run through a wall for Jimbo Fisher because he's showing that he has belief in us in that locker room, and I'm ready to rock. Now, we may not be good enough to beat him this year, but in his mind, we're going to be good enough at some point. I'm rocking with him, Tim Hill.
What, 52-24 was the score last year?
That's last year.
Right. When they had their school record-setting quarterback in Kellen Mond. They will not have this year. I get it. Alabama lost 6 first-rounders, so it's probably a good time to play them. But did you see Alabama's recruiting class they just brought in?
Yeah, I did. Wow. And
And
Rich continues to get richer, huh?
right. To say we can do it just as good or be just as good or better, and we will,
Yes.
after you say we're going to beat Nick Saban's butt, and that's the radio-friendly version. That is just outside the depths, I think. So this all leads to the question of, okay, let's take it to the Carolina Clemson example, right? Because this is one of the reasons why Shane Beamer was hired, right? Being uncompetitive against Clemson, and especially against Clemson, let's just say, the last several years in the Will Muschamp era, unacceptable. And that just grinds the gears of the big-time Gamecock donors and supporters, as well it should, right? And that is one of the reasons, if not the main reason, that Steve Spurrier will be forever indebted to Gamecock fans, or Gamecock fans are forever indebted to him. 5 straight wins over Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can go. I feel like I don't hear 11-2 or top 10 ranking 3 years in a row as much as I hear Steve Spurrier remember for 5 wins over Clemson in a row. So the question will be asked, and has been asked, I'm sure, but I don't think we've heard it necessarily catch any headlines, right? All right, Shane Beamer, Gamecock Club members, going to ask, are you going to beat Dabo Swinney and Clemson? When are you going to beat Dabo Swinney and Clemson? Will probably be more like the question asked to Shane Beamer. You had an opportunity to answer this for him earlier.
Yep.
We were unsatisfied with your response. Let's put it that way. So as
so was I.
As we're wrapping up, you helping to fill in for Bill Gunter this morning, and you'll be back on Monday. So we will revisit this maybe if we have to, or maybe I'll just give you some extra kudos if you have a good response ready to go. I'm interested in hearing how Shane Beamer, according to the captain, Carey Rich, should answer the question, will you beat Dabo Swinney and Clemson?
I'm going to preface my answer or Shane Beamer impersonation by saying Jimbo Fisher. There is a difference because Jimbo Fisher is a proven commodity. He's won a national championship, so he's probably going to have a lot more confidence and a lot more mojo than a Shane Beamer, very respectfully said at this point of his career. But if I'm Shane Beamer, I'm going to sound just like Shane Beamer, and this is what I'm saying. You mentioned that program in the upstate. They're certainly on a pretty good run right now. But when I was there before, we were on a pretty dang good run ourselves against those guys as well. It's a big, big challenge, and we're going to work every single day in recruiting in this facility to have a team that we could be proud of on the field. And that will result with the way we play on the field. Certainly great respect for those guys, but looking forward to getting in there and competing. I know that for a fact. That's what Shane Beamer would say. Okay, and if I'm a stakeholder, I'm probably not as excited.
To me, I think less is more here. Less is more. I see where you were going with that. I can get behind mentioning what happened before.
Yes.
But you got to be really careful when you're doing that. I think we've seen that with Frank Martin in the Final Four run, right? We saw that with Will Muschamp towards the end when he was talking about, well, we've had success around here, and I know how to fix it and get back in the whole thing. People didn't want to hear that at the end of the Muschamp era. I don't think people wanted to hear anything. Our buddy Bill Gunter probably might be the king of that bandwagon, saying, I just don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear anything he's got to say. It's kind of where he was towards the end, and I get it. So, but Shane Beamer's on the other end right now, right? He's on the other end of the spectrum. We want to hear what he has to say because we want to see what he's going to do with the program, and it all goes hand in hand. So to me, you got to do the redirect, I think, if you're Shane Beamer in this situation. The question isn't, can we beat Clemson? Can I beat Dabo Swinney? The question is, how good can we get this program? I've seen this program beat Clemson before, so I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about getting this program a lot better and doing it as quickly as possible.
But fans don't want to hear that, Tim Hill. You know that. You can't skate around the whole Clemson question. Fans want to hear you speak directly to Clemson and your ability to beat Clemson.
I hear you.
Whether it's logical or not, but that's what fans want to hear. And fans want something to get excited about, especially, think about the season that this football program is coming off of. They need an injection of excitement. they need something to hold them over. There's a curiosity, there's a level of or degree of suspense that's hovering over this program moving forward. I think fans are anxious to see the product on the field, and it is Shane Beamer's responsibility to create that level of excitement, to satisfy that degree of curiosity or suspense, to hold them over. And hopefully once you get to football season, the product is good enough to where it gives fans something to be even more excited about. But again, it is such a fine line that coaches have to walk when it comes to trying to give. And most of the time at those meetings, very respectfully said, they aren't just fans. They are, they're some of the key stakeholders. They're some of the guys that write the big checks. And those guys have all bragged to their buddies. They've all invited their buddies, other business owners, and hey, man, we get to be a part of an intimate setting with the coach at the University of South Carolina, with the coach at Texas A&M, and he's going to share some things with us that he's not going to share with the media, or he hasn't shared with the media. So as a coach, you know the setting that you're going into. You know that you have to say a few things to get them excited. You know you have to say a few things to engage them. And ultimately, you know you have to leave that setting, that meeting, that environment with fans being excited to see you and your team the next time. It's a fine line. Sometimes you cross it, and sometimes you come across a little stale. But I think when you're trying to build a program, when you're trying to get to a certain degree, a certain level, I think you have to do it. And I know this is probably not the example that South Carolina fans want to hear. But again, I remember they used to reference Dabo Swinney as a cheerleader. Nobody took him seriously. He was a rah-rah guy. Well, I don't think anybody's saying that now. And I think the proven record of success also supports it.
No doubt
and
about
I'm seeing
that.
Shane Beamer come out with the same type of enthusiasm.
Yeah, no doubt about that, and no doubt about the fine line. And that's part of what keeps us interested in the offseason when it comes to college football right now. Been an interesting conversation. Enjoyed the back and forth today, Carey, at the captain_03, where you can follow Carey on Twitter. We'll be back helping to fill in for Bill Gunter on Monday as well. Looking forward to it, sir.
Sounds good, my friend. I'm looking forward to watching a little baseball this weekend so I can give my breakdown analysis this Monday. So I'll be ready.
Nice. We'll see.
So somebody's coming to the show prepared. I love it.
Absolutely. Weird. And I'll be in touch with my speechwriter and the folks that can share some baseball insight with me.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
John Wooden said something a long time ago. He said, failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
That's a good line.
Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Right? So I got to prepare for Monday. I'm ready.
Always sound like Will Muschamp.
Like nothing less.
King of preparation. That's Sunday through Friday. Game time's on time's game time. When the light comes on, you got to take it to another level. We will continue to trade cliches maybe back on Monday. We need to take a quick break here. Got some news from the Gamecock baseball program that is not a good sign towards the end of the season for sure. Get you in on those details. Also get into this Georgia name, image, and likeness thing towards the end of the show as well. What they did yesterday, 75% of the money they're going to take. And I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me. There'll be a little bit more room for your takes here. 803-404-6100. You can call or text. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is South Carolina head women's basketball coach Dawn Staley, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, WNKT FM East.
Hey, I want to tell you guys, timing is a big thing. We're talking about the off season right now in football and comments and the whole deal. It takes on a different life of its own this time of year. Right now, you're talking about timing. You're talking about a great time to get into the lending area. If you're looking for a refinancing or a new mortgage, check out Buford Lending. Benji Getsy down at Buford Lending. Those guys have been doing it 25 years. He and his staff, they have the experience. They know, they have the confidence. They will have no problem telling you they can give you the best deal. And they have the confidence that they can do that because of all their experience. Also, just because of what Benji and his team, they've done before. I can tell you from personal experience, I went through this process with him a couple of weeks ago. And the numbers that I got back were really, really impressive. And I know Benji can do that for you as well. And he understands that you probably already have relationships with other lenders, other people you've gone through, worked with before. He encourages you to call them and see what they can give you. Just put him on your list and see what kind of numbers that Beaufort Lending can get back to you. I guarantee you will be happy with the results there. And that will certainly put you in a better situation moving forward. 843-524-2404 is the number. Again, that's Beaufort Lending. Give them a call at 843-524-2404. Carey, thanks, man. Go ahead and get out of there. Sorry for keeping you a little long there.
I'm good to go.
All right, we'll catch you Monday. Sounds good. And we'll have the technology up and rolling. We'll be good. Right? You're an old pro now.
Hey, I got it now, my friend.
Hey, boy.
Thank you.
All right, Carey. See you, man. Nice work, Hope. Captain is the GOAT from Chad. Plus, he has it. Oh, plus, yeah. Yep, tonight. And what did I see here? One of these games on the SEC Network this weekend. So the Sunday game is on the SEC Network. Looks like Mike Morgan and Todd Walker will be on the call for Sunday at 2 o'clock. And then 7 tonight, 4 on Saturday, SEC Network Plus.
I know you can't talk about what the news is, but is it going to make us very sad?
What's that?
The tease for baseball.
No, not very sad. It's one of the pitchers, Jack Mahoney, is out for the season now. I get Tommy John surgery, so that's extended time. It stinks.
Yeah, it
stinks. Yeah, Sonny, I saw you brought that up early.
There you go.
Looking up these stats now.
Jay Phillips soccer team. Is that Manchester?
You got me.
United?
But I'm sure if that's wrong, then you just upset everybody.
I know, right?
Soccer fans are touchy, man.
He'd put something on Twitter about naming a pizza that he has, so I was trying to come up with something that was soccer related.
See where your head's at. I like it. I'm thinking scarves, kits, one other. Pitch. All the soccer terms are going through my head. Hooligans.
Ooh. I like that one.
What are the USA fans? What is that group called? Forget.
Nerds?
All right. Robert needs to know the NASCAR picks from yesterday, Jen.
Yeah, I need to get that out. Ah, the next gen cards.
Oh, I got it right in front of me. So Carey went with Denny Hamlin, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Jen went with Kevin Harvick, and Bill's pick is Martin Truex Jr.
Yep. And I sent Reggie a note this morning.
Reggie's a slacker and hasn't weighed in yet. Huh? Morning, Mark. And then he asked your opinion of the next gen car.
It's a beauty. It's so pretty. I'm trying to read more about some of the specs about it, but they're making it so that they can kind of bump more, grind is, so that you're not just flipping cars and not just so, I think they're a little more planted. So I'm looking forward to diving in a little bit more to the specifics, and they're good looking. I should drive some pace cars. I'm just saying. All right, you're up.
24/7, not just here on the show from 6 to 9 or in the afternoon from noon until 7 p.m. If you're ever watching something, you ever get the idea that you need to just vent, check out the hot take hotline, I'm trying to say. We'll by the game Twin Peaks, giving you the chance to speak your mind whenever you feel like it, 24/7 there. The number, the hot take hotline, 803-978-6654. Feel free to vent there anytime, and when you do that, we can play it back later on the show and then get into it from there. Or maybe you can just feel better. That hot take hotline sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never settle. Go see them down in the Vista at 600 Gervais Street. I'm guessing there were plenty of you out there, plenty of you that when you heard the news last night, you checked out the Big Spur. I believe this is the great John Whittle who broke the news, put it out last night that the talented freshman pitcher and a guy who's actually started at third base at least once for the Gamecocks this year, Jack Mahoney, is going to miss the rest of the season. He left the North Florida game a couple of days ago early with forearm tightness, and that is never a good sign. And unfortunately, it was kind of worst case scenario. Now, John Whittle reporting it's a torn UCL, and Tommy John surgery will be up next for Mahoney. That means he will certainly miss the rest of this season, and that recovery process sometimes can be an 18-month deal. So we'll see. We'll continue to monitor the progress there. I don't know if the Gamecock program will even be counting on him being back next season. Really disappointing news for a guy who's been just tremendous in his freshman season for the Gamecocks, had become that midweek starter, 3-0 record, fourth most innings pitched this year on the staff, 33 1/3 right now, and 1.62 ERA, the numbers. But more than the numbers, 39 strikeouts and 8 walks. You're a numbers person. But I think even more than the numbers, it was kind of his attitude, his confidence. He's a former high school quarterback, a guy that really this program has needed in a lot of ways, in multiple ways, I think is the best way to put that. A guy that comes in, expects to win, bulldog kind of mentality, aggressive, and really talented to go with it. And it's a bummer that you lose a guy like that for sure. Now with Tommy John surgery, how this team recovers though, going to be the really important part from the Gamecock baseball overall perspective now, because this is what, unfortunately, man, this is what SEC baseball is all about. If you're not deep and talented, you got no shot. Gamecock baseball is deep and it is talented. And a guy like Jack Mahoney is a great example of that. Freshman, been tremendous. Unfortunately, injuries are part of the game, and you lose a guy like this now, and you have to recover. It's not like he was a weekend starter. I get that. But in a lot of big instances this year, he has come out of the bullpen earlier on and clearly was a really good midweek option for the Gamecocks. And recently, I think Mark Kingston talked about how sometimes in a regional or a College World Series type setting, if you have to go through the loser bracket, you need a fourth starter. Well, now he's not that guy. To me, this is the opportunity for someone else to step up and be a guy that can kind of galvanize your team and your program, because right now Carolina needs that. And changing up the pitching rotation is a big move for Mark Kingston going into this weekend series. Brandon Jordan gets the start tonight in game number 1, where Carolina has really struggled. They've only won 1 of their previous 7 SEC series openers. So tonight is huge for the Gamecocks in a lot of ways, not just from a wins and losses standpoint, sitting at 11-10 in conference play, not just because they're playing one of the best teams in the country in Mississippi State at home, not just because you're coming off of a sweep, getting swept at Ole Miss, dropping 5 of your last 6. It's the combination, totality of all of that, and where this program is just coming off. They did bounce back and at least avoided kind of disaster against North Florida, won that game 7-6. This program this year, this team has proven it's pretty resilient. And in a lot of those SEC series where they lost the opener, they've come back and won the series. And that is really difficult to do, especially with how talented the league is right now. But in your last 3 series where you're playing 2 of the best teams in the league and in the country, in Mississippi State this weekend, and 2 weeks from now, you get Tennessee at home to finish the regular season. You got Kentucky in between. It's going to take this team playing at a very high level and getting a lot of contributions from a lot of different guys. Unfortunately, Jack Mahoney will not be one of those guys that will be able to contribute. And now other guys in the locker room, other guys on the pitching staff specifically. But to me, it's been the pitching staff that has carried this team to this point. I think Carolina's second in the SEC in ERA, second to last in batting average. It's going to be hitters are going to have to step up, and it's going to have to start tonight. That's the reason Mark Kingston said he made some of the shakeup in the pitching rotation is because there hasn't been any offensive production on Friday night for Thomas Farr. You can't win games that way. So just trying to give a spark, switch things up a little bit, change the mojo. It's what you do in baseball a lot of times. It's not saying, hey, I got zero confidence in you, Thomas Farr, because you got to have confidence in your Sunday starter as well, your game 3 starter. Just switching it up. Now, when these things work, coaches look like geniuses, right? When Mark Kingston got thrown out of that series finale at Vanderbilt in the 7th inning and they're losing, they come back and win. Genius move, right? Gets a lot of credit for that team's run they went on, getting off to the 10-5 start in the first half of SEC play. The coaches understand. They get the credit, they get the blame. This thing doesn't work, and it's more like you're pressing the panic button and you're messing with the formula that got you here and the whole deal. But I got no problem with the move at all. Now it comes down to more than the Gamecock pitching, which has been pretty darn good. It comes down to the Carolina bats. That's where I think the pressure lies right now in that locker room going into tonight's game. You got to figure out a way to score some runs because we've seen that this team can do it for sure. Like York hits us up and says it's a big loss for a potential NCAA run. Win anyway. That whole win anyway mentality from back in the Ray Tanner days is applicable now maybe more than it has been for Gamecock baseball this season when you lose a game like that, because it's hard for us to understand from the outside looking in, but it really does take a toll when you see a guy like that go down when you're in the locker room, when he's your teammate, when you've seen the work he's put in, you know the emotional toll, you know the emotional pluses that guy's added, and then you feel that absence. Even if he's in the locker room with you or in the dugout, the whole thing, it's not the same. He's not wearing the uniform, or if he's not available, it's just not the same. And so now how do you respond to that? Sometimes something like this can galvanize a team. And you do the, hey, man, this guy doesn't have a chance. You got a chance. Take advantage of it. Can Carolina do that against some of the best competition in the country is going to be kind of the proving ground for the end of this season. And in a lot of ways, I think this program is at a crossroads in that way. You come through at the end of this season. They've gone through their first real slump in SEC play. right? It's the second slump of the season because you started 11-0, then you lost 6 games in a row. Second slump of the season, first real SEC slump. Bounce back from that first overall slump in the season in a big way. Now you got to do it again in the SEC, and you got to do it against the best players in the SEC. But guess what? You come to South Carolina, you're supposed to be one of the best players in the SEC. You're supposed to be one of the best players in the country. That's what this program is and has been for a long time. So I know the confidence will be there from this group. How you bounce back from losing a guy that was as important as Mahoney and that brought as much as he did to the program as soon as he did is going to be the real interesting part. And to me, it is a massive game tonight. I don't like to put too much on baseball games specifically. You play 56, you play 30 in the conference. So there are a bunch of them, right? And to put too much importance on one game more than another is kind of ridiculous. But there are also really, really important moments to seasons. Frank Martin has put it better than any other coach I've ever heard, and I've mentioned it many times on this show. His line is that during a season, a team either learns how to win or it learns how to lose. And he's not saying that that's what coaches coach. Obviously, you don't coach your team to learn how to lose. It's just that's reality, right? You got teams that win, and you got teams that lose. And your team is one or the other in these games where it comes down to one play here or there. It comes down to an inch here or there. Getting a butt down, getting a runner over, coming up with a clutch hit, not walking a guy, making a strikeout, getting the play, the winning plays, those plays that we saw time and time again from those win anyway days from Gamecock baseball that saw back-to-back national championships and playing for a third straight that we haven't seen nearly as consistently since then, but would be impossible to have continued into perpetuity. But it's what Gamecock fans expect. It's what Gamecock baseball fans deserve. It's why Mark Kingston was hired, to get them there. Can this team do that down the stretch? We're about to find out. But and back to tonight's game. You do it in game number 1 against Mississippi State with Brandon Jordan on the mound for the first time, leading off an SEC series. Boy, it really gets that positive momentum going. And this team has shown, maybe more than other teams in the past, that they get on a roll. Watch out. Mm-hmm. One way or the other, Jen. Right? We've seen it go the wrong way recently. Watch out that it's going to be really hard to score runs. But then when they get going positively, when the bats start going, it's a difficult team to stop. And that's what Gamecock fans certainly want to see at Founders Park this weekend against a really good team like Mississippi State. You do that, and you're right back in the conversation for hosting an NCAA regional. You continue to do it against Kentucky and then do it against Tennessee, you're in great position. And then this program is right back to where it used to be. But you don't do that in the next 9 conference games, and it's disappointing. And then you're back in that frustrating spot of being close but not being where the program needs to be. Important 9 games and a really important first of those 9 last conference games coming up tonight. For Gamecock baseball, we'll have it here for you as always on 107.5 The Game. 6:45 airtime, 7 o'clock first pitch. SEC Network Plus TV tonight, tomorrow, the 4 o'clock game tomorrow, and then on the regular SEC Network television, 2 p.m. on Sunday.
I like the idea of resurrecting the win anyway.
Well, to do that, you got to keep winning.
Well, exactly.
And
it's a good time to get that started.
I think this program would deserve that mantra if they go on a run here down the stretch in the 2021 season. We'll see. And it's awesome. Really looking forward to watching tonight's game. I'll try to give you something to look forward to. The final segment of the show coming up here. Georgia, what are you? It's the latest example of why politics and sports should never meet. I don't understand what's going on there. Please, maybe you can help me out. Name, image, and likeness state of Georgia has passed a bill. The governor signed it, and it just seems, it doesn't seem to be what this country stands for at all. Discuss that. If you'd like to get a final word, 803-404-6100. It's the early game here on 107.5.
The game is on everywhere on the air, on your phone or tablet, on the app, Alexa.
All around my house these days, it's pretty nuts. The 8 and 6-year-old, it was a rough one last night. Walk-off loss in the coach pitch. They come back, and my wife almost said something that got me. Like, I'm a pretty low-key, unemotional guy, even keel kind of guy most of the time. My wife looked at my kids. She had to leave early with the 1-year-old to take them back. Late night game said, "Oh, the uniforms aren't really that dirty." Oh man, what are these guys doing? But then she saw some grass stains on the 8-year-old, and it was okay. They didn't track too much dirt in with them last night, which is a good thing around my house. But fortunately, we've had some professional help keeping our house clean, especially when it comes to the floors with Zero Res carpet and air duct clean. They've come to my house a couple of times, cleaned my carpets, an area rug for me, the kitchen tile, bathroom tile, done a great job, impressed my wife in the process, and they've done it differently. They will do it differently. They do it differently than anybody else. They have a patented powered water system. It means no harsh chemicals involved in the process. That's especially important to me and my family, especially that 1-year-old picking up everything off the floor and trying to eat it. That's a different frustration. And they can do it for you as well. Also, no leftover soapy residue. That's why my carpets have stayed cleaner longer. Yours can as well. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. You can check them out online, zerorescolumbia.com. Great deal for you right now. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119, plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. That's zerorescolumbia.com, 803-262-4020. It's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass.
All right, Anthony, I'll do my best, man. The solo radio thing, not nearly as fun as mixing it up and yelling at people. And especially on the video stream, that is fun too. See, I just saw something about name, image, and likeness. I'm interested to read. It's like Josh Kendall's got his article on Tonka Hemingway on The Athletic. Heard him asking questions about him a bunch recently. Oh, and then we also have, you guys see this at Presbyterian? Kevin Kelly is his name. The new head coach at Presbyterian College. He is the guy that in Arkansas hardly ever punted. Going to be massively interesting. Always onside kicking as well. Wow. That's going to be fun to watch.
So I wonder what the, it's going to be windy all weekend. I'm wondering how that impacts hitting in Founders Park.
Sounds like it's going to be flying. I would say.
Depends on the direction.
Yeah, they're going to be the same. I mean, each lineup will have an advantage over the pitchers for sure. I would say, part of Carolina's problems is just hitting fly balls. Well, when those fly balls keep going, you might be all right. I guess Henry Astor signed a name, image, and likeness thing yesterday too.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't look like any kind of restriction or anything other than what you would expect. NCAA guidelines, like you can't promote alcohol or tobacco or things like that. Prohibits athletes from being paid to attend particular schools. Okay. The Fellowship of the Ring, huh? Man, I saw the first few minutes of Two Towers one time. I was like looking around, like, what is going on here? I just could not get into that thing. Jen, have you gotten into the Lord of the Rings?
No.
Can't do it, Mark.
No. Wish I could.
It's a good question, DC. I think it has to. How could it not?
Something I read said they were hoping it would help, but I don't know how it would. Yep.
I'm the first to admit I'm not a politically savvy guy. I start hearing political speak and I check out real quick most of the time. Unfortunately, that's not always something I can do when it has a direct effect on sports. Like yesterday, Georgia and the state of South Carolina, both governors signing a bill which would make it a law that college student athletes can start earning money from their name, image, and likeness. Now, this to me is the dumbest thing of all time. Why would you have to make that a law? This is just politicians putting pressure on the NCAA to allow this. I get it. But the idea of it is ridiculous, right? Isn't that our inherent right that we should be able to do this? Like, oh, I can make money off me? Thank you for making that law. Government, the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Oh, well, maybe the second dumbest thing I've ever heard, because in Georgia's law, they wrote in there that individual schools can take 75% of this revenue and put it in a pot and then disperse it to other student athletes a year after they graduate. Georgia, what are you doing? DC asked, would that hurt Georgia in recruiting? Talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. And again, the schools don't have to do this. They're just saying, the state's saying that it can. Why would you? I mean, we see it in pro sports all the time that a place like Florida without income tax or Texas is a much more attractive place to go to if you're earning these 7-figure paychecks because the government is taking less of your money. Check out the NFL draft picks, those guys who got drafted in Texas or Florida. They're getting a lot more of that signing bonus than guys in other states. I would think it would have to hurt Georgia, but I don't think they'll be dumb enough to do that. I don't understand how Georgia politicians were dumb enough to put that in. South Carolina politicians were smart enough as well not to enact this like Georgia did come July 1. They said 2022. So they're at least giving the NCAA a little bit of time to try to make this less of a cluster where each individual state will have all kind of different rules. Hey, NCAA, pass one rule. Let's figure it out, okay? Politicians, stay out of it. 50 different states with 50 different rules. Let's not make it that complicated, huh? And don't take 3/4 of their money, man. How greedy are you?
Jeez.
Thanks for listening to the early game here. Dan Patrick Show coming up next on 107.5 again. All right, that is that. Thanks for hanging in on the live stream. Sorry it wasn't as entertaining with 4 of us today. Appreciate the contributions. Again, we'll do it like this with Carey until 8:15 on Monday, and Bill will have it this afternoon as well. So you get a little bonus. It's fractured a little bit, but you get a little bonus afternoon live stream if you want it.
Is that really a bonus?
Great point. Great point.
Maybe an added opportunity.
Well, Patrick will be on it this afternoon, so that is a bonus.
Yeah, I suppose a little bit. We'll see
If they can get Captain Dave on there, then you got the eye candy too. So watch out.
That's very true. He might. We get him to play some guitar.
That's a great idea. Captain Dave interludes. If that's not a sponsorship opportunity, I don't know what is.
Just saying. Could be fun.
It'd be great. No more radio traffic updates, or they're all just like, there's some traffic out there.
Right.
I don't know. You guys figure it out. And right back to strumming the guitar.
I like it. Well, that could actually be the traffic bet.
Mark, I will never. You would have to pay me hundreds of dollars to do that. Hundreds.
Yeah.
And when do you give homework? We didn't make Bill do anything.
Yeah, but Bill says he'll do something, but he doesn't do it. We talked about hockey pucks. He still have bets to pay off.
See you guys Monday morning. Thanks for being a part of the show.